The gun barrel pressed cold against Claire Donovan's temple, and for the first time in her billionaire life, money meant nothing. But in that crowded cafe, it wasn't her bodyguards who moved. It was the exhausted man in the corner booth, coffee, growing cold, worn jacket, hanging loose on his frame. Daniel Reed had sworn his fighting days were over, buried with his wife and the ghosts of Black Ops missions that never existed. Yet as his fingers wrapped around the gunman's wrist, muscle memory older than his daughter's lifetime took over. Some heroes don't wear suits. They wear the invisible scars of wars nobody talks about. Welcome to a story where salvation comes from the most unexpected places. I'm about to share a tale that will remind you why the quietest person in the room is often the most dangerous. Before we dive in, let me know in the comments what city you're watching from. I love seeing how far these stories travel across our beautiful country. The morning started like any other Tuesday in downtown Chicago. The rain hammered against the windows of Cafe Meridian, creating rivers that raced down the glass and blurred the city beyond. Inside, the familiar symphony of morning rush played out espresso machines, hissing keyboards, clicking conversations weaving together into white noise. Nobody noticed the man who entered at 8:47 a.m., water dripping from his black raincoat hand buried deep in his pocket. Daniel Reed sat in the corner booth, the same one he'd claimed every Tuesday for the past 3 months. His coffee had gone cold 20 minutes ago, but he hadn't noticed. His attention was fixed on the notebook before him, columns of numbers that refused to add up to anything close to hope. Rent was due in 4 days. Lily needed new shoes. She'd been hiding the holes in her current pair, stuffing them with paper towels so he wouldn't worry. The heating bill was 2 months overdue, and November in Chicago didn't forgive poverty. His calloused fingers traced the numbers again, as if touching them might change their cruel arithmetic. $42 in checking. $800 needed for rent. $300 for utilities. The construction job had ended 2 weeks ago when the foreman's nephew needed work. The warehouse position went to someone younger, someone without the telltale limp that appeared when the weather turned cold. "More coffee, hon." Daniel looked up at Martha, the waitress who'd been working these morning shifts since before his daughter was born. Her face carried the kind of kindness that came from knowing struggle intimately. "Just water, thanks," he said, his voice rough from another sleepless night. Martha glanced at his notebook, recognition flickering across her features. She'd seen that particular brand of mathematics before, the calculus of desperation. Without a word, she refilled his coffee anyway, leaving the check face down with "On the House" scrawled across it. 3 booths away, Claire Donovan was fighting her own battle, though hers played out on the screen of a laptop worth more than Daniel made in 6 months. The hostile takeover attempt had blindsided her board. 20 years building Donovan Industries from her father's struggling manufacturing company into a $3 billion empire, and now corporate vultures circled sensing weakness in her recent divorce proceedings. "We need those Hong Kong contracts signed today." Her voice cut through the cafe's ambiance as she spoke into her Bluetooth earpiece. "I don't care what time zone they're in. Wake them up." She looked every inch the CEO-tailored charcoal suit that cost more than most people's cars, subtle diamond earrings that caught the light when she moved, an aura of authority that made the air around her seem to bend. But beneath the table, hidden from view, her left hand trembled slightly. The divorce papers had been finalized yesterday. 23 years of marriage reduced to asset division and custody arrangements. "No, Richard, we're not postponing the board meeting." She continued, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hand. "The vultures smell blood. We show any weakness now, and they'll tear us apart." Daniel caught fragments of her conversation, the way soldiers learn to parse important information from background noise. Corporate warfare, different battlefield, same principles. Identify threats, secure positions, strike decisively. He'd once been very good at all three. His phone buzzed a text from Lily's school. His daughter had forgotten her lunch money again. Not forgotten, he knew. She was trying to help in her 9-year-old way, thinking if she didn't eat, there'd be more money for other things. The thought carved something hollow in his chest. The man in the black raincoat had reached the counter now. Martha was asking him what he'd like her perpetual smile in place. He didn't answer. Instead, his hand emerged from his pocket, and with it came the dull gleam of a Glock 19. "Everyone on the ground now!" The words exploded through the cafe like shrapnel. A woman screamed. A laptop clattered to the floor. Someone's coffee mug shattered, spreading brown liquid across white tile like a Rorschach test of fear. Daniel's body reacted before his mind caught up. His hand was already moving Lily's photo into his jacket's inner pocket, protecting what mattered. His eyes cataloged the room with military precision: 17 civilians, 3 possible exits, 1 hostile with a semi-automatic weapon. The gunman's stance was amateur weight, too far forward, grip too tight, desperate, not professional. Claire had frozen, her billion-dollar empire suddenly meaningless. The gun swung toward her, drawn perhaps by her expensive appearance, the obvious target for robbery. "You," the gunman's voice cracked, revealing his youth beneath the ski mask. "The rich bitch, stand up. Empty your purse." Claire's hands shook as she reached for her designer bag. Her fingers fumbled with the clasp, fear making them clumsy. The gunman grew impatient, stepping closer, the gun barrel now inches from her face. "Faster. I'm trying." Claire's voice had lost all its corporate authority, reduced to something small and frightened. Daniel watched the gunman's trigger finger. It was twitching, adrenaline and inexperience, a dangerous combination. The kid was spiraling, probably high-definitely desperate. In about 3 seconds, someone was going to die by accident. The math was simple. Distance 12 feet, obstacles 2 overturned chairs, weapon status safety off, round chambered. Probability of successful intervention, maybe 40%. Probability of Lily growing up without a father, 60%. But then another image flashed: Lily at 18 reading a news story about how her father sat by while someone died. Lily learning that when it mattered most, her hero chose safety over someone else's life. Daniel moved. Not the way civilians move, sudden and telegraphed. This was something else, something that had been drilled into muscle memory in places whose names were classified. He flowed between the overturned chairs like water finding its path, using the gunman's own adrenaline-narrowed vision against him. The gunman caught the movement peripherally, started to turn, but Daniel was already inside his reaction curve. His left hand clamped onto the gun's slide, preventing it from cycling if fired. His right hand struck the gunman's wrist at the nerve cluster, causing involuntary muscle relaxation. The gun clattered away, sliding under the espresso machine. For a moment, the cafe held its breath. Then the gunman, all 20-something years of desperate choices, swung wildly with his free hand. Daniel slipped the punch, using the kid's momentum to guide him face first into the counter. Not hard enough to kill, just enough to stun. "Stay down," Daniel said quietly, his knee pressing between the attacker's shoulder blades, controlling without crushing. "It's over." The entire confrontation had taken less than 4 seconds. Sirens were already approaching. Someone had triggered the silent alarm. Daniel kept the gunman pinned, gentle but immovable, like a father restraining a child having a tantrum. The kid was crying now, the adrenaline crash hitting hard. "I'm sorry," the gunman kept repeating. "I'm so sorry. My mom, the medical bills. I didn't want to." Daniel's grip gentled slightly. Another soul crushed by the mathematics of desperation. Different choices, same equation. The police burst in with practiced efficiency weapons, drawn voices commanding. Daniel raised his hands slowly, letting them take over. He stepped back, fading into the crowd of witnesses as statements were given. Just another bystander who got lucky. Claire stood frozen, her mind struggling to process what she'd witnessed. The movement hadn't been lucky. It had been precise, trained professional, the kind of skill that came from places most people only saw in movies. "Sir." A young officer approached Daniel. "We'll need your statement." "Of course," Daniel replied, his voice carefully neutral, scrubbed of anything that might hint at what he'd once been. As he gave his statement, carefully edited, just a construction worker who'd taken some self-defense classes. Claire watched him. She noticed things others might miss. The way he stood, weight evenly distributed, ready to move in any direction. The small scars on his hands that didn't come from construction work. The way his eyes never stopped scanning the room, cataloging threats that no longer existed. "Daniel Reed," she heard him tell the officer. "I work construction, when I can find it." After an hour of questions and paperwork, the police finally released them. The cafe had been sealed as a crime scene, but Martha slipped Daniel a bag with sandwiches before he left. "For your little girl," she said quietly. Daniel was almost to his 10-year-old Toyota when he heard heels clicking on wet pavement behind him. "Mr. Reed." He turned to find Claire Donovan standing in the rain, her $1,000 suit growing dark with water. Up close, without the haze of adrenaline, he could see the fractures in her composed facade, red-rimmed eyes, tension in her jaw, the way she held herself like armor. "Ma'am," he said simply. "That wasn't luck," she said. "It wasn't a question." Daniel's expression didn't change. Adrenaline makes people do unexpected things. "No." Claire stepped closer, rain running down her face like tears. "I've seen adrenaline. I've seen luck. That was training. Military." Daniel was quiet for a long moment, calculating. "Does it matter? You saved my life." "Anyone would have." "No," Claire interrupted. "They wouldn't have. They didn't. 20 people in that cafe, and you were the only one who moved. Why?" Daniel looked past her toward the city skyline, where somewhere his daughter was sitting in a classroom, probably hungry, definitely wearing shoes with holes in them. "Because I have someone to go home to," he said finally. "Excuse me, Ms. Donovan, Claire Donovan." She pulled out a business card, executive cardstock that felt substantial even in the rain. "Please, let me at least buy you dinner, or help with—" She gestured at his old car, then caught herself realizing how it might sound. "I don't need charity," Daniel said, but without heat. He'd learned to swallow pride long ago. Pride didn't pay rent or buy school supplies. "It's not charity, it's gratitude." Claire paused, studying him. "You have a daughter." Daniel's expression shifted, protective instincts flaring. "How did you—" "You touched something in your pocket before you moved, the way someone touches a talisman. Then I saw the edge of a photo when you gave your statement. Pink backpack, big smile." Despite himself, Daniel felt his mouth twitch toward a smile. "Lily. She's 9. I have a daughter too, 16. She lives with her father now." Something passed across Claire's face. Pain quickly shuddered. "Please, Mr. Reed, let me at least offer you a reward. The media will pick this up, and Donovan Industries has a standard Good Samaritan bonus." "No." The word came out harder than intended. "No media, no rewards, no attention." Claire frowned. "But you're a hero." "I'm a father," Daniel corrected. "That's all, just a father trying to get by." He turned toward his car, but Claire's next words stopped him. "The eagle on your jacket." Daniel went very still. "Special Forces, isn't it?" Claire continued. "My brother was Navy. He had friends who wore that insignia, friends who did things that never made the news." "You're mistaken." Daniel's voice had gone flat, emotionless. "I don't think I am." Claire took a step closer. "Mr. Reed, I'm not trying to expose you or cause problems, but I know what I saw in there. That wasn't just military training. That was something more specialized." Daniel turned back slowly. For a moment, Claire saw something in his eyes that made her step back. Not fear, but recognition. This was a man who'd seen and done things that left marks deeper than scars. "Ms. Donovan," he said quietly, "you seem like a nice person. You have your life, your company, your world. I have mine. Let's leave it at that. What if I could offer you a job?" The words tumbled out before Claire could stop them. "Security, corporate protection. The pay would be—" "I install drywall," Daniel interrupted. "I fix roofs. I do honest work when I can find it. That's all I am now." "But you were—" "What I was doesn't matter anymore." His voice carried finality like a closing door. "Have a good life, Ms. Donovan. Stay safe." He got in his car, the engine coughing before catching. Claire stood in the rain, watching him drive away, her executive mind already working. She pulled out her phone. "Richardson. It's Claire. I need you to run a background check on someone. Quietly. Daniel Reed, probably mid-30s, has a 9-year-old daughter. Yes, I know what I said about privacy, but this is different. Just do it." Daniel's apartment was on the 3rd floor of a building that had seen better decades. The stairs creaked a warning with each step, and the hallway smelled of old cooking and older dreams. But inside apartment 3B, none of that mattered. "Daddy?" Lily burst from the couch where she'd been doing homework, launching herself into his arms with the complete trust that only children possess. Daniel caught her lifting her easily, despite the protest from his back. She was small for 9, delicate like her mother had been, but her smile could light up the darkest corners of his memory. "Hey, Butterfly," he said, using the nickname he'd given her when she was 3 and obsessed with the creatures. "How was school?" "Good. Mrs. Patterson says I'm the best reader in class." She pulled back to look at him, and her expression shifted. "You look tired." "Just a long morning," he set her down gently. "Did Mrs. Chen give you lunch?" Mrs. Chen was their neighbor, a 70-year-old widow who watched Lily after school in exchange for Daniel fixing things around her apartment. It was one of the few arrangements in his life that felt balanced. "Yes, but, Daddy," Lily's voice dropped. "I heard her on the phone. She said something about moving to Florida, to be with her son." Another support beam removed from an already shaky structure. Daniel filed it away to worry about later. "We'll figure it out, Butterfly, we always do." Lily nodded, but he caught the worry in her eyes, too much understanding for 9 years old. Children in poverty grew up fast, learning to read the signs of strain in their parents' faces. "I got homework," she announced, returning to the couch where textbooks were spread across a coffee table held together with duct tape and determination. "Math today. I'm good at math." "Just like your mom," Daniel said softly. Sarah had been an accountant before the cancer. She'd tried to teach him about investments and savings back when they had enough money for such concepts to matter. Now, 3 years after her death, he could barely remember having a savings account, let alone what was in it. While Lily worked on fractions, Daniel sat at their small kitchen table and pulled out his phone. 3 messages from construction foremen, all variations of "nothing today, maybe tomorrow." 1 message from the VA hospital about an appointment he couldn't afford to keep, and something else. An unknown number had left a voicemail. "Mr. Reed, this is Jeffrey Richardson from Donovan Industries. Ms. Donovan asked me to extend an invitation for lunch tomorrow to discuss potential employment opportunities. No strings attached, just a conversation. Please call me at..." Daniel deleted the message. But an hour later, another came. "Mr. Reed, Claire Donovan again. I apologize for having my assistant call. That was inappropriate. I'm not good at owing people. And whether you want to admit it or not, I owe you my life. Please, just one lunch, if only so I can sleep better at night." He almost deleted that one too, but Lily chose that moment to announce she'd finished her homework. "Can we have spaghetti tonight?" she asked hopefully. Daniel checked the cabinet. They had pasta, but no sauce. They had bread, but no butter. They had hope, but no money. "How about mac and cheese?" he suggested, knowing they had 1 box left. "Okay," Lily agreed cheerfully, but he caught the flash of disappointment. The phone felt heavy in his hand. 1 lunch, what could it hurt? That night, after Lily was asleep, Daniel stood at her doorway watching her breathe. The apartment was cold. He'd turned the heat down to save money, but she was bundled under 3 blankets, only her dark hair visible. On her nightstand sat a photo of Sarah taken 2 months before the diagnosis. She was laughing at something off-camera, probably one of Daniel's terrible jokes. Next to it was a Father's Day card Lily had made at school construction paper and glitter declaring him world's best dad. He wasn't the world's best anything. He was just a man trying to outrun ghosts while standing still trying to be normal, while his hands remembered violence trying to raise a daughter when some days he could barely raise himself from bed. His phone buzzed. Another unknown number. "Mr. Reed, you don't know me, but I know you, or knew you. In Kandahar, in Mogadishu, in places that don't exist. I heard you were out. I heard you were struggling. Some of us don't forget our brothers. There's work if you want it, the kind that pays well and doesn't ask questions. Think about it. Your daughter deserves better than mac and cheese." Daniel's blood went cold. He deleted the message, then went to the window scanning the street below. Nothing unusual, just the normal tableau of urban decay. But they'd found him. After 3 years of careful anonymity, they'd found him. He returned to Lily's doorway. She'd kicked off one of the blankets in her sleep, and he carefully tucked it back around her. "Your daughter deserves better." They weren't wrong, but better at what cost. He'd left that world for a reason. The weight of secrets, the burden of necessary evils, the slow erosion of humanity. He'd walked away from it all when Sarah died, promising her ghost He'd be the father Lily needed. But promises didn't pay rent. Good intentions didn't buy groceries. And all the love in the world couldn't fill an empty refrigerator. His phone showed Claire Donovan's voicemail again. Corporate security. Clean work. Legal work. Maybe. A sound from the street made him freeze, car doors closing too quietly. Footsteps too measured. He moved to the window again, staying in the shadows. Two men in dark suits were entering the building. Federal agents. Former colleagues. Threats from operations that never happened. Daniel moved quickly but quietly. He pulled the go bag from the closet, cash fake IDs, a clean phone, things he'd hoped never to need again. Then he woke Lily, his hand gentle on her shoulder. Butterfly, we're going on an adventure. She blinked awake, confused. Now. Right now. Pack your backpack. Only important things. The tone in his voice must have conveyed urgency because she didn't argue. As she packed, Daniel heard footsteps in the hallway. They stopped at Mrs. Chen's door first, knocking, asking questions. He lifted Lily, backpack and all, and moved to the back window. Fire escape. 3 stories down. He'd done it before, but never carrying the most precious thing in his world. The footsteps were at their door now, firm knocking. Mr. Reed, federal agents, we'd like to talk to you about this morning's incident. Federal agents didn't usually knock, Daniel knew, but they also didn't usually announce themselves if they were something else. Daddy? Lily whispered, frightened now. He had 2 choices. Run and teach his daughter that running was always the answer, or face whatever this was and hope his past hadn't finally caught up to his present. The knocking came again harder. Daniel set Lily down. Stay in your room, Butterfly, no matter what you hear. He walked to the door, checking the peephole. 2 men's suits, clean-shaven. They looked federal, but then again the best ones always did. Daniel opened the door 6 inches, his body blocking any view of the apartment. Mr. Reed? The taller agent held up FBI credentials. Agent Martinez, this is Agent Cooper. We're investigating this morning's attempted robbery. We have some questions about your intervention. I gave my statement to the police. Yes, we've read it. Martinez's smile didn't reach his eyes. Very thorough. Very careful. The thing is, Mr. Reed, the way you handled that situation suggests certain skills that interest us. I got lucky. No one gets that kind of lucky, Cooper said. He was younger, eager. We ran your fingerprints from the crime scene without a warrant. Daniel's voice carried an edge now. Martinez shot his partner a look. From the coffee cup you were drinking from. Public space, discarded property. All legal. The thing is, Mr. Reed, your prints raised some flags. Classified flags. Daniel said nothing. We're not here to cause problems, Martinez continued. In fact, we're here to solve them. There's a domestic terrorism task force being assembled. People with your particular background would be valuable. I work construction. You work construction, Cooper corrected. Past tense. We checked. You haven't had steady work in 2 months. Still not interested. Martinez pulled out a card. The offer stands. Think about your daughter, Mr. Reed. This would mean steady income, federal benefits, a pension. A chance to serve your country again, but this time on the right side of the law. I was always on the right side, Daniel said quietly. The law just didn't always know about it. After they left, Daniel found Lily standing in her bedroom doorway, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Were those bad men? She asked. No, Butterfly, just men doing their jobs. Like you used to do before Mommy got sick. Daniel knelt down to her level. How do you know about that? I heard you talking to Mommy when she was in the hospital. You told her you were sorry for being away so much, for doing things that scared you. Lily's eyes were too wise. Is that why we don't talk about before? Yeah, Daniel admitted. That's why. Were you a soldier? Something like that. Lily was quiet for a moment, processing. Then she hugged him, fierce and sudden. I don't care what you were. You're my daddy now. Daniel held her tight, feeling the weight of every choice that had led to this moment. The federal agent's card was in his pocket. Claire Donovan's offer was on his phone, and somewhere out there shadows from his past were stirring. Daddy, Lily pulled back. Are we still going on an adventure? No, Butterfly, not tonight. Good. Because I have a spelling test tomorrow. As she went back to bed, Daniel stood at the window again, watching the street. The agents were gone, but the feeling of exposure remained. 3 years he'd managed to stay invisible. One moment of action of being who he used to be, and the carefully constructed normal life was cracking. His phone rang. Claire Donovan again. This time he answered. Miss Donovan? Mr. Reed. She sounded surprised. I didn't expect you to pick up. Federal agents just left my apartment. What are you in trouble is this about? It's about choices, Miss Donovan, the kind that follow you. He paused. That lunch offer. Is it still available? Of course, tomorrow noon. Somewhere public, somewhere with multiple exits. Mr. Reed, you're scaring me a little. Good. You should be scared. The world's scarier than most people realize. Your world especially. What do you mean? Daniel thought about the hostile takeover she'd mentioned in the cafe. The tremor in her hands, the way power attracted predators. We'll talk tomorrow. Text me the address. After he hung up, Daniel checked on Lily one more time. She was sleeping peacefully, unaware that their life was about to change. He pulled out the federal agent's card, then Claire Donovan's business card, weighing them like opposing futures. Both offered escape from poverty. Both came with costs. But one kept him in the shadows, and the other might let him step into the light. His phone buzzed with a text from Claire, an address for a restaurant downtown, the kind with cloth napkins and multiple forks. Another world entirely. Daniel sat in the dark living room surrounded by the debris of diminished dreams and made a decision. Not for himself, he'd given up making decisions for himself when Sarah died. But for the little girl sleeping in the next room, wearing pajamas that were getting too small, dreaming whatever dreams 9-year-olds dream when their world is held together by a father's failing strength. Tomorrow, he would have lunch with Claire Donovan. He would listen to her offer, and maybe, just maybe, he would find a way to be both the father Lily needed and the man his skills demanded he be. But tonight, he would stand watch, because that's what fathers did. That's what soldiers did. And despite 3 years of pretending otherwise, that's what he would always be, a guardian, standing between the innocent and the dark. The rain had stopped, but storm clouds still gathered on the horizon. Daniel could feel them the way he'd once felt ambushes waiting, a tension in the air, a wrongness in the pattern. Change was coming whether he wanted it or not. The only question was whether he'd meet it head-on or let it catch him from behind. His phone lit up with another unknown number. This time, he didn't answer. But the voicemail was short and chilling. Phoenix, Mogadishu, Black Site, Delta. If you remember any of these, you know why I'm calling. Your new friend, Ms. Donovan, has enemies. Enemies with connections to our past. Watch yourself, brother, and watch her. The game isn't over. Daniel closed his eyes, feeling the weight of history settling on his shoulders like an old familiar pack. He'd thought he could leave it all behind, the operations that never happened, the enemies who didn't exist, the brotherhood forged in classified fire. But some things you couldn't outrun. Some debts came due no matter how far you ran, and sometimes the only way to protect the future was to face the past. Tomorrow, he would have lunch with Claire Donovan. But tonight, he would remember who he used to be. Because the man in the cafe, the one who'd moved without thinking, who'd saved a life with muscle memory older than his daughter, that man had never really gone away. He'd just been waiting. And now, whether he liked it or not, it was time to wake up. The restaurant Claire had chosen occupied the 40th floor of the Meridian Tower. All glass walls and impossible views of Chicago spreading out like a circuit board below. Daniel stood in the lobby, acutely aware of his best jacket, which meant the one with the fewest visible repairs, and watched executives flow past him like schools of expensive fish. His reflection in the polished marble looked exactly like what he was, a man who didn't belong here. Mr. Reed. A young woman in a suit that probably cost more than his monthly rent appeared at his elbow. Ms. Donovan is waiting for you. This way, please. The elevator rose smoothly, silently, carrying him away from his world and into hers. Through the glass walls, he watched the city shrink below, problems becoming ant-sized, invisible from such heights. That was the thing about power, he thought. It let you rise above the mess until you couldn't see it anymore. Claire was seated at a corner table, positioned perfectly to see both the view and anyone approaching. Smart positioning, Daniel noted. Whether by instinct or design, she'd chosen the tactical ground. She stood when she saw him, and for a moment neither spoke. She looked different than she had in the cafe composed now, armored in corporate elegance. But Daniel could still see the fractures the way she held her phone like a lifeline, the slight shadows under carefully concealed eyes. "Mr. Reed, thank you for coming." "Ms. Donovan." He sat carefully, the chair probably worth more than his car. "Please call me Claire." She gestured to the menu. "Order whatever you'd like. They do an excellent salmon here." Daniel looked at the menu. No prices listed, the kind of place where if you had to ask you couldn't afford it. He closed it. "I'm not really hungry." Claire studied him for a moment, then closed her own menu. "Neither am I, actually." It's strange, isn't it? How trauma affects appetite. After my father died, I couldn't eat for a week. After my divorce, she trailed off, catching herself. "I'm sorry. You didn't come here for my problems." "Everyone has problems," Daniel said simply. "Rich or poor, we're all fighting something." "What are you fighting, Mr. Reed?" said. "Poverty," he answered honestly, "and the temptation to take shortcuts out of it." Claire leaned forward. "What kind of shortcuts?" "The kind that would take me away from my daughter. The kind that would turn me back into someone she wouldn't recognize." He met her eyes directly. "I got a job offer last night. 2, actually. Neither of them legal. But you're here instead." "I'm here because you're the only one offering something that might let me stay who I've been trying to become." A waiter appeared, silent as smoke. Claire ordered for both of them soup, bread, simple things. After he left, she pulled out a tablet. "I had my people do some research, she began, then caught his expression. "Public records only, I promise, though even those are interesting." Daniel Reed, 36 years old, enlisted at 18, military record largely classified but several commendations visible. Married Sarah Chen, a forensic accountant 12 years ago, widowed 3 years ago. One daughter, Lily, enrolled at McKinley Elementary on an academic scholarship. "You've been thorough." "I've been curious. You see, Mr. Reed, I've had bodyguards, lots of them. Ex-military, ex-police, all very qualified on paper, but none of them moved like you did yesterday. None of them would have acted without being paid to." "Maybe that's why I'm broke," Daniel said with a slight smile. "Or maybe that's why you're exactly what I need." Claire turned the tablet toward him. "Donovan Industries is under attack, not physically, corporately. Someone is systematically targeting our contracts, our suppliers, our board members. It started 6 months ago, right when my divorce proceedings began." Daniel studied the data she was showing him, patterns of corporate sabotage, coordinated attacks on multiple fronts. His tactical mind began assembling the picture. "Your ex-husband?" he asked. "Richard wouldn't have the subtlety or the patience. This is something else. Someone else." She pulled up another screen. 3 of my executives have received death threats. 2 have had accidents, a brake line failure, a mugging gone wrong. The police say there's no connection, but you don't believe in coincidences. Do you? Daniel thought about the voice on his phone last night, the warning about Claire's enemies connecting to his past. "No, I don't. I need someone who can see threats before they materialize. Someone who can protect not just my body, but my company. Someone who understands that violence in boardrooms can be just as deadly as violence in war zones." I'm not a corporate security specialist, Ms. Donovan Claire. You're a soldier without a war," Claire interrupted. "And I'm offering you a different kind of battlefield, one where your daughter can visit you at work, one with health insurance and college savings plans, one where you can be both the man you were and the father you need to be." The soup arrived. Daniel watched Claire take a small sip. Her hands steady, now CEO mask firmly in place. But he'd learned to read people in places where misreading meant death, and he could see what this was costing her, asking for help, admitting vulnerability. "There's something else," she said quietly. "The man yesterday, the one with the gun. The police say he was just a junkie looking for quick cash, but I had my people dig deeper. He had no prior record, no drug history, and the gun he was carrying, it was military issue, reported stolen from a National Guard armory 2 weeks ago." Daniel's instincts sharpened. "You think it was a hit?" "I think someone wanted me scared or dead, and I think they failed because of you." She met his eyes. "The question is, was that coincidence, or were you there for a reason?" The question hung between them like a blade. Daniel could maintain his cover as a desperate construction worker who got lucky, or he could step partially into the light. I was there because it's the only place I can afford coffee that doesn't taste like motor oil, he said finally. But you're right about one thing that wasn't a random robbery. The approach was wrong, the timing was wrong, and nobody robs a cafe at 8 in the morning unless they're after something specific. Or someone specific. Or that. Claire pushed the tablet across the table again. This time it showed a number that made Daniel's breath catch. That's the salary I'm offering, plus benefits, plus a signing bonus that would handle any immediate debts. There's also a company apartment available, nothing fancy, but it's in a building with good security and an excellent school district. Daniel stared at the number. It was more than he'd made in the last 3 years combined. Enough to give Lily everything she deserved. Enough to stop the constant calculating, the endless arithmetic of poverty. What's the catch? He asked. The catch is that someone is trying to destroy everything I've built, and I don't know who or why. The catch is that you'd be stepping into a fight that's already started. The catch is that your particular skills, the ones you're trying to leave behind, might be exactly what's needed. Daniel's phone buzzed. A text from Mrs. Chen. Sorry, Daniel. Moving to Florida next week. Can't watch Lily anymore. Another support beam removed. Another calculation that wouldn't balance. He looked out at the city below, then at Claire across from him waiting for an answer. I need to make a call, he said. Claire nodded, and Daniel stepped away from the table, finding a quiet corner near the windows. He dialed a number he hadn't used in 3 years. Well, well. The voice that answered was amused. Daniel Reed rises from the dead. Marcus, I need a favor. You know favors in our world come with prices, brother. I know, that's why I'm calling. Claire Donovan, what's her connection to our past? There was a long pause. You always were too smart for your own good. Remember Operation Blackwater? Daniel's blood chilled. Blackwater had been a clusterfuck, weapons smuggling, dead civilians, records destroyed. That was 8 years ago. Yeah, well, some grudges have long memories. Claire Donovan's company just got a defense contract worth $2 billion, the same contract that certain people thought was theirs. People who remember you from Blackwater. People who hold grudges. Are you one of them? Marcus laughed, but there was no humor in it. If I was, would I be warning you? Listen, Danny, you want my advice. Take whatever she's offering and watch your six. The past isn't done with you, and now it's not done with her either. Daniel ended the call and returned to the table. Claire was typing on her phone, but she looked up when he sat down. I'll take the job, he said, but we do this my way. I need complete access your schedule, your contacts, your enemies list. I need to vet everyone in your inner circle, and I need you to trust me even when I tell you things you don't want to hear. Done. Claire extended her hand. When can you start? Now. Daniel shook her hand, noting the calluses that suggested she wasn't just a soft executive. But first I need to pick up my daughter from school, and you're coming with me. Claire blinked. You want me to protect you? Then you need to understand what you're buying. Not just my skills, but my responsibilities. Lily comes first always. If you can't accept that this ends now. Something shifted in Claire's expression. Respect maybe, or recognition. I have a daughter too. Remember, I understand priorities. An hour later, Claire's BMW pulled up outside McKinley Elementary, a building that looked like it had been forgotten by the city decades ago. Paint peeled from walls, windows were reinforced with mesh, and the playground equipment was more rust than metal. This is where Lily goes to school. Claire couldn't hide her shock. Academic scholarship, Daniel reminded her. They have a good gifted program, even if everything else is falling apart. They waited by the entrance as children flooded out. Daniel spotted Lily immediately. She was smaller than the others, walking alone with a book clutched to her chest. When she saw him, her face lit up like sunrise. Daddy, you're early. She ran to him, then stopped short when she noticed Claire. Who's this? Lily, this is Ms. Donovan. She's my new boss. Lily's eyes widened. You got a job! The hope in her voice nearly broke Daniel's heart. Claire knelt down to Lily's level designer's suit, be damned. Your father is going to be working with me, she said gently. He's going to help keep my company safe. Like he keeps me safe? Lily asked. Exactly like that. Lily studied Claire with that unfiltered intensity children possessed. Are you nice? I try to be. Good, because my daddy deserves nice people. Lily took Daniel's hand. Can we go home now? I have to finish my science project. As they walked to the car, Claire watched Daniel transform. The hypervigilant soldier relaxed into something softer, listening as Lily chattered about her day carrying her backpack that was clearly too heavy for her small frame. This was what she was really hiring, not just the warrior, but the father who'd chosen his child over everything else. Ms. Donovan? Lily's voice interrupted her thoughts. Do you have a car? I do. Is it nice? It's very nice. Lily considered this. We have a car too. Makes funny noises, but Daddy says that's just it, talking to us. Claire caught Daniel's slight embarrassment and made a decision. Would you like a ride home? We could all go together. The apartment building looked even worse in the afternoon light. Claire's BMW looked absurdly out of place among the broken windows and graffiti-covered walls. But she followed them up the 3 flights of stairs without comment, though Daniel noticed her cataloging security vulnerabilities. No camera-broken locks, too many blind corners. Inside the apartment, Lily immediately went to the table to work on her project, a solar system made from styrofoam balls and paint. Claire stood in the doorway, taking in the sparse but clean space, the careful organization that spoke of making do with less. Can I help? She asked Lily. Do you know about planets? A little. I studied astronomy in college, actually. For the next hour, Daniel watched his new employer sit on his threadbare carpet, helping his daughter paint Jupiter's storms with the focused intensity she probably brought to billion-dollar deals. Lily warmed to her quickly, the way she always did with people who treated her like she mattered. Daddy says Jupiter protects Earth, Lily was explaining. Its gravity catches asteroids that might hit us. That's right, Claire agreed. Jupiter is like a big guardian keeping the smaller planets safe. Like Daddy, Lily said matter-of-factly. He protects people. Claire glanced at Daniel. Yes, exactly like that. Daniel's phone rang. Unknown number. He stepped into the kitchen to answer. You took the job. It wasn't a question. The voice was different from before, older, more authoritative. Who is this? Someone who knew you when you were useful. Someone who's disappointed you've chosen to play bodyguard to a CEO who's already dead. She just doesn't know it yet. If you touch me, I won't touch anyone. But the people she's angered, the contracts she's stolen, the enemies she's made. They have longer reaches than you remember, and now you've put yourself and that precious daughter of yours right in the crosshairs. The line went dead. Daniel turned to find Claire watching him from the doorway. Problem? She asked quietly. Maybe. Probably. He looked past her to where Lily was adding rings to Saturn, humming to herself. Claire, what aren't you telling me about this defense contract? She was quiet for a moment. It was supposed to go to Nexus Corporation. They'd had it for 10 years, but they got sloppy missed deadlines. We underbid them and offered better terms. Nexus Corporation. The name triggered memories. Shell companies, black market weapons, congressional hearings that went nowhere. They don't just lose gracefully. No, Claire agreed. They don't. That's why I need you. You need more than me. You need a full security team, corporate intelligence, maybe witness protection. I need someone I can trust, Claire corrected. Everyone else can be bought. But you can't be bought because you have her. She nodded toward Lily. That makes you incorruptible in a way money can't purchase. Before Daniel could respond, there was a knock at the door. 3 short raps paused 2 more. Daniel recognized the pattern: military, specifically special operations. He moved Claire behind him, motioning for her to stay with Lily. Through the peephole, he saw a face he hadn't seen in 5 years. Tommy Chen, former Delta Force, former friend, former brother-in-arms. Currently holding a pizza box and grinning. Daniel opened the door cautiously. Tommy. Danny boy. Heard you were back in the game. I'm not. Sure you're not. Tommy's eyes found Claire in the background. Ms. Donovan, you're prettier than your corporate photos. You know who I am? Claire stepped forward, but Daniel kept himself between them. Lady, everyone in our world knows who you are now. You just hired the ghost of Blackwater. That makes you either very smart or very stupid. What do you want, Tommy? Daniel's voice carried warning. Relax, I come in peace, and with pizza. He held up the box. Pepperoni and mushroom. I remembered Lily likes mushroom. The fact that he knew Lily's preferences sent ice through Daniel's veins. Tommy caught his expression and raised his free hand. Easy, brother. I've been keeping an eye on you. Professional courtesy. Making sure nobody bothered you while you were out. He paused. But now you're back in, and that changes things. I'm private security now. Legal. Above board. Tommy laughed. Danny, you could be selling insurance and it wouldn't matter. You are who you are. We all are. And some people have long memories about what we did. Daddy, Lily appeared in the hallway. Is that pizza? Tommy's entire demeanor shifted, becoming avuncular harmless. Hey there, little one. You must be Lily. Your dad talks about you all the time. He does. Lily looked at Daniel suspiciously. Daddy doesn't talk to anyone. He used to talk to me. We were friends back before you were born. Daniel watched his daughter process this information, saw her cataloging Tommy the way she cataloged everything carefully, completely. Were you a soldier too? She asked. Something like that. Did you know my mom? I did. She made the best dumplings in Chicago. That detail, that small truth, shifted something in Daniel. Sarah had made dumplings every Sunday, a recipe from her grandmother. The fact that Tommy remembered. Come in, Daniel said finally. But you and I talk first. Alone. They went to the kitchen while Claire entertained Lily, showing her pictures of telescopes on her phone. Daniel kept his voice low. What's this really about? Warning and an offer, Tommy said, matching his volume. The Warning Nexus Corporation has a $30 million contract out on your new boss. Not a kill order, they want her ruined first, then dead. The offer, some of the old team are freelancing now. We could help. At what cost? We're brothers, Danny. Family discount. We stopped being family when the unit dissolved. Tommy's expression hardened. We stopped being family when you walked away, when you decided your conscience was more important than your brother's. My wife was dying, and we would have been there for you, but you didn't let us. You just vanished. They stared at each other across years of silence and choices that couldn't be undone. Finally, Tommy pulled out a card. My number. When this goes bad, and it will go bad, call me. We protect our own Danny even when they don't want protection. After Tommy left, the apartment felt smaller, like the walls had crept closer. Claire was helping Lily with math homework now, patient with each wrong answer, celebrating each correct one. Daniel watched them and felt the weight of what he'd just learned. $30 million. For that kind of money, everyone was for sale. Everyone except him, because Claire was right. Lily made him incorruptible, but that didn't make him invulnerable. I should go, Claire said, finally standing. It's getting late. I'll walk you to your car, Daniel said. I want to come too, Lily announced. Homework first, butterfly. But Daddy, I'll come back, but Claire promised. If that's okay, I could help with your science project next week. Lily's face lit up. Really? Really? Daniel walked Claire down to her car, hyper-aware of every shadow, every passing figure. The BMW chirped as she unlocked it. Thank you, she said, for letting me see your life, your real life. There's something you need to know. Nexus Corporation has a bounty on you, $30 million. Claire's face paled, but her voice stayed steady. How do you know that? Old contacts, the kind I was hoping never to need again. He paused. You can still back out. Cancel the contract, let Nexus have it. Would you? If it was your company, your life's work? Daniel thought about it. No, but I don't have as much to lose. Everyone has something to lose, Mr. Reed. The question is whether we let fear of loss paralyze us or motivate us. She got in the car, then looked up at him through the window. I meant what I said about coming back. Lily's wonderful. She likes you, Daniel admitted. She doesn't like many people. Smart girl. Most people aren't worth liking. Claire started the engine. Tomorrow, 9 a.m., Donovan Industries. Bring your game face, Mr. Reed. The real work starts now. Daniel watched her drive away, then looked up at his apartment window where Lily was probably watching. He waved and saw her small hand wave back. The real work. As if anything about his work had ever been real in the conventional sense. But this felt different. This wasn't about patriotism or duty or following orders. This was about a little girl who deserved better, and a woman who'd sat on his floor painting planets, and the possibility that maybe, just maybe, he could be more than the sum of his sins. His phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number, "You can't protect them both." Daniel deleted it and went inside. Lily was at the table working on Jupiter's moons, now tongue stuck out in concentration. She looked up when he entered. "I like her," she announced. "Ms. Donovan. Claire. She said I could call her Claire." Lily went back to painting. "She's sad, though. Like you are sometimes." "What makes you think I'm sad?" Lily gave him the look that suggested he was being particularly obtuse. "You're always sad, Daddy, ever since Mommy went to heaven. But today you were less sad, when Claire was here." Out of the mouths of babes. Daniel sat beside his daughter, picking up a paintbrush to help with Europa's ice fields. "Maybe we're all a little sad," he said. "That's okay," Lily said philosophically. "Sad people understand each other. That's what Mrs. Patterson says." They painted in comfortable silence until Lily's bedtime. After she was asleep, Daniel stood at the window again, watching the city lights flicker like ground-level stars. Somewhere out there, $30 million worth of threat was circulating, looking for weakness, planning, approach vectors. But for the first time in 3 years, Daniel didn't feel alone in the fight. Claire Donovan might be his employer, but something in her recognition of his daughter, her willingness to sit on a dirty carpet and paint planets, suggested she might be something more. An ally. Maybe even a friend. His phone rang. Marcus again. "Danny, you need to know something. The cafe thing this morning. That was just the opening move. They're going to come at her sideways through her business, her reputation, her family. And if you're standing next to her, they come at me too. And anyone you care about." Daniel looked at Lily's door. "Then I guess I better make sure they don't get that chance. You can't fight Nexus alone. They have resources, connections, people in every agency." "I'm not alone." "Claire Donovan. She's a civilian, Danny. When the real violence starts, then I'll handle it. It's what I do." "What you did. Past tense. You've been out for 3 years. You're rusty. You're isolated, and you've got a vulnerability that everyone can see." "My daughter is not a vulnerability. She's a leverage point. And in our world, leverage is everything." After Marcus hung up, Daniel went through his nightly routine, checking locks, securing windows, placing early warning devices. But tonight he added something new. He pulled out the go bag and updated its contents, adding copies of Lily's medical records, school transcripts, everything she'd need if they had to run. Then he sat in the dark in the chair that faced the door and did what he'd done in 100 safe houses in a dozen countries. He kept watch. Because that's what guardians did. They stood between the innocent and the dark. And sometimes if they were very lucky or very good, they got to see the sunrise. Tonight Daniel would settle for making it to morning. Tomorrow he would walk into Claire Donovan's world and try to keep her alive. But right now his job was simpler. Make sure his daughter woke up safe in her own bed, ready to face another day of 4th grade. The city hummed outside, unaware that war had been declared in its shadows. Corporate war, shadow war, the kind that happened in boardrooms and back alleys with equal lethality. Daniel Reed was back in the game whether he wanted to be or not. But this time he wasn't fighting for country or duty or orders from men who would deny his existence if things went wrong. This time he was fighting for the 2 people sleeping under his protection, one by blood, one by choice. And that he thought, as the night deepened around him, made all the difference. The Donovan Industries building rose 47 floors into Chicago's morning sky, all black glass and steel ambition. Daniel stood in the lobby at 8:45 a.m., wearing his only suit purchased 3 years ago for Sarah's funeral and not worn since. Security guards watched him with professional interest, noting the way he cataloged exits, cameras, defensive positions. Old habits announcing themselves like signatures. "Mr. Reed." A young man appeared, all nervous energy and tablet clutching. I'm James, Ms. Donovan's assistant. She's expecting you. The executive elevator climbed silently past floors of corporate machinery Daniel didn't understand and wasn't sure he wanted to. James was explaining something about security protocols, badge access, parking validation. Daniel heard none of it. His attention was fixed on the reflection in the elevator's polished doors. Two men in suits had entered the lobby 30 seconds after him and were now waiting by the main elevators. Does Ms. Donovan have any meetings scheduled this morning? Daniel interrupted. Just the board review at 10. Why? No reason. Daniel memorized the men's faces in the distorted reflection. James, how many ways are there to reach the executive floor? 3 elevators, 2 stairwells. Why are you... Just curious about the layout. The elevator opened onto a floor that breathed money marble reception desk, original artwork, the kind of deep carpet that swallowed footsteps. Claire's office occupied the northeast corner, a glass-walled command center overlooking the city. She was on the phone when they entered, pacing behind her desk with controlled agitation. No, Richard, you can't have the lake house. The divorce is final. Stop calling my office. She ended the call and turned to Daniel, frustration shifting to something like relief. Mr. Reed, welcome to corporate America. We need to talk about your security, starting with the 2 men who followed me into the building. Claire's expression sharpened. Description. Mid-30s, professional suits but wrong shoes, tactical boots, not dress shoes. They're trying to blend, but they're military or ex-military. They split up at the elevators, probably taking different routes up. Claire moved to her desk, pressing an intercom. Security to the executive floor, possible unauthorized access. Also, Daniel continued, your ex-husband. How bitter is the divorce? On a scale of 1 to 10, 15. Claire pulled up something on her computer. Richard got the house in Winnetka half the joint assets, but he wanted more. He wanted the company shares my father left me. Would he work with Nexus? Richard would work with the devil himself if it meant hurting me. She paused. You think he's involved? I think $30 million makes strange bedfellows. Daniel moved to the window, checking angles. This office is too exposed. Anyone with a rifle and a building within 800 meters has a clear shot. Comforting thought. I'm not here to comfort you. I'm here to keep you alive. Before Claire could respond, the door burst open. Not security, the 2 men from the lobby moving with practiced coordination. Daniel was already in motion, pushing Claire behind the desk as the first man reached for something inside his jacket. The math was instant. 2 hostiles, 1 client to protect limited cover. Daniel grabbed the desk lamp, heavy brass, expensive, perfect, and launched it at the first man's head. It connected with a satisfying crack, sending him stumbling. The second man was faster, smarter. He had his weapon out, not a gun, a taser. Less lethal, meant to incapacitate, which meant they wanted Claire alive. Daniel rolled across the desk using momentum to close distance. The taser fired electrodes cutting through air where he'd been a second before. Before the man could reload, Daniel was on him, applying a chokehold that would drop him in 8 seconds. But the first man was recovering blood streaming from his scalp, reaching for his own weapon. Claire, to her credit, didn't freeze. She grabbed the award from her desk, some crystal monstrosity for business excellence, and brought it down on his reaching hand. Bones cracked. Security finally arrived, flooding the office with uniforms and questions. The 2 attackers were zip-tied, searched, processed. They carried no identification, refused to speak. Professional contractors. Take them to holding, Claire ordered, every inch the CEO, despite the adrenaline shaking. Call CPD, but keep this quiet. No media. After security left with the attackers, Claire sank into her chair. That's twice in 2 days someone's tried to hurt me. No, Daniel corrected. Yesterday was meant to kill you. This was meant to take you. Alive. Which means someone wants information or leverage. The difference being, dead, you're just gone. Alive, you can be useful. The question is, useful for what? Claire's phone rang. She looked at the screen and paled. It's my daughter. She never calls during school unless... She answered. Sophia. What's wrong? Daniel could hear the crying through the phone, teenage hysteria, barely contained. Mom, there were men at school. They said they were from your company, but they were asking questions about you, about our family. I'm scared. Where are you now? Claire's voice stayed steady, but her knuckles were white. Dad's house. He's not here. I'm alone. I'm sending someone to get you right now. Lock the doors, don't answer for anyone except... She looked at Daniel. He was already moving. Dress. She scribbled it down. Winnetka North Shore, 30 minutes in good traffic. Daniel. I'll get her, but you need to go somewhere secure. Not here, not home. Somewhere unexpected. Where? Daniel thought about it. My apartment. Are you serious? It's the last place anyone would look for you. James can drive you. Don't use your car, don't use company vehicles. Take a cab, pay cash. He headed for the door, then turned back. Claire, does your daughter know how to defend herself? She's 16. She does field hockey. That's not what I asked. Then no, she doesn't. Daniel nodded and left. The elevator ride down felt eternal. Every second meant Sophia was a lone, vulnerable bait for whoever was orchestrating this. He reached his car, the ancient Toyota that nobody would track, and pushed it hard toward the North Shore. The house in Winnetka was everything Daniel expected, massive, pristine, a monument to wealth that didn't guarantee happiness. He parked 3 houses down, approaching on foot, cataloging. No suspicious vehicles, but fresh tire tracks in the driveway that didn't match the BMW parked there. The front door was ajar. Daniel drew the knife he always carried. Nothing dramatic, just functional steel that had saved his life more than once. He entered silently, hearing voices from upstairs. A man's voice, calm, reasonable. Your mother just needs to return what she took Sophia. Then everyone can go back to normal. I don't know what you're talking about. The girl's voice terrified but trying to be brave. The defense contracts, the files she stole from Nexus. We know she has them. Daniel moved up the stairs, testing each step for creaks. The voices came from the second door on the right. Through the crack, he could see Sophia Blonde, like her mother, that same stubborn jaw sitting on her bed. A man stood near the window suit, immaculate gun held casually. Perhaps we should call your mother together, the man was saying. Explain the situation. Daniel entered the room like smoke becoming solid. The man turned, gun rising, but Daniel was already inside his guard. The knife took him in the shoulder, deliberately missing anything vital. The gun fell, and Daniel followed up with an elbow strike that dropped the man unconscious. Sophia screamed, then recognized something in Daniel's purposeful calm. Your mom's new security? Something like that. We need to go. Now. She grabbed a backpack, stepping carefully around the unconscious intruder. Is he alive? Won't be happy when he wakes up, but alive. Daniel pocketed the man's gun, checked his pockets. Another professional, another dead end. Your mom's safe. She's worried about you. In the car, Sophia was quiet for several minutes, processing. Then, you're not normal security, are you? What makes you say that? Normal security would have called the police. You just stabbed a guy and kidnapped me. I'm rescuing you. There's a difference. Is there... Because from where I'm sitting, you're just another dangerous man my mom trusts for some reason. Daniel glanced at her, 16 years old, her world imploding, but still thinking clearly. You're right. I am dangerous. But I'm dangerous in your favor, which right now makes me your best option. Where are we going? Somewhere safe. That's not an answer. It's all the answer you're getting. They drove in silence until Sophia spoke again. My parents' divorce. It's connected to this, isn't it? Dad kept saying Mom was paranoid that she was making up threats to get sympathy from the judge. What do you think? I think my mom might be a lot of things, but paranoid isn't one of them. She stared out the window. I think my dad might be involved in something bad. Daniel's phone rang. Claire. I have her. She's safe. Thank God. Daniel, the men who attacked my office, one of them talked. They were hired by Richard. My ex-husband actually hired people to kidnap me. Daniel looked at Sophia, who was watching him intently. We need to discuss this in person. Are you at the location? Yes, your neighbor, Mrs. Chen, she let me in. She's lovely, by the way, making tea and asking about my divorce like we're old friends. Despite everything, Daniel almost smiled. Mrs. Chen had that effect on people. We're 20 minutes out. Daniel, thank you for everything. He ended the call to find Sophia studying him. My dad hired those men. There was no point lying. Apparently, to hurt my mom, to take her somewhere. We don't know why yet. Sophia was quiet for a moment, then laughed bitterly. He always said she'd regret leaving him. I just thought he meant emotionally, not this. I'm sorry. For what you didn't marry him. You didn't spend 16 years watching him slowly become someone else. Someone mean. She wiped her eyes angrily. Is my mom really at your apartment? Yes. Is it safe there? Daniel thought about the building, the broken locks, the shadows where threats could hide. Safer than anywhere else right now. Oh, that's not really an answer either. You're right, it's not. When they reached the apartment building, Daniel made Sophia wait in the car while he cleared the stairwell. Paranoid maybe, but paranoia had kept him alive through 3 tours and countless operations that didn't officially exist. The apartment door was open. Mrs. Chen's voice drifting out along with the smell of jasmine tea. Inside, Claire sat on the couch, the same spot where she'd painted planets with Lily the night before, looking oddly at home in the shabby surroundings. Sophia. She flew to her daughter, holding her tight. Are you okay? Did anyone hurt you? I'm fine, Mom. Your scary friend stabbed someone, but I'm fine. Claire pulled back, looking at Daniel. You stabbed someone. Just a little. A little? Shoulder wound, he'll live. Mrs. Chen appeared from the kitchen with more tea, seemingly unfazed by the conversation. In my day, we knew how to handle bad men. My husband, God rest him, he kept a baseball bat by the door. Very effective. Mrs. Chen, Daniel said gently. You should go to your apartment. Lock the door. Nonsense. This is the most excitement I've had in years. She settled into the threadbare armchair like a queen on her throne. Besides, someone needs to be here when little Lily gets home from school. Daniel checked his watch. 2:30. Lily would be home in an hour, walking into whatever this was becoming. We need to move, he said. All of us. Somewhere actually secure. Where? Claire asked. My house is compromised. Richard knows all my properties. The company isn't safe. I might have an option. Daniel pulled out the card Tommy had left. He didn't want to make this call, didn't want to owe these kinds of favors, but Lily's safety trumped his pride. Give me a minute. He stepped into the bedroom dialing. Tommy answered on the first ring. That was faster than I expected. I need a safe house, tonight. Secure enough for 2 adults, 2 kids. Kids? Tommy's voice sharpened. Danny, what have you gotten into? The client's daughter is 16. And Lily, I can't leave Lily out of this. Jesus. Okay, yeah, I've got a place, suburb called Oak Park, completely off the grid. But Danny, this isn't free. I know. I don't mean money. You come back to us even for this, and you're back in. You understand the team has work, good. Work, necessary. Work. We could use you. Daniel looked through the doorway at Claire, comforting her daughter at Mrs. Chen pouring tea, like this was a social visit at the life he'd built that was crumbling around him. Just the safe house, Tommy. Nothing else. Famous last words, brother. Tommy gave him the address and access codes. Daniel returned to find Claire on her phone, voice sharp with authority. I don't care what the board says. Richard is no longer authorized for any company access. Yes, revoke everything. Key cards, passwords, parking pass, everything. Sophia sat beside her, looking younger than 16, overwhelmed by the collapse of her family's facade. Mrs. Chen was patting her hand, murmuring something about resilience and women surviving worse. Daniel's phone buzzed. School alert, early dismissal due to a water main break. Lily would be walking home in 10 minutes, not an hour. I have to go, he said. Claire looked up. What's wrong? Lily's getting out early. I need to... The apartment door exploded inward, not kicked blown. The concussion knocked everyone sprawling, ears ringing, vision blurred. Through the smoke, figures in tactical gear poured in weapons-raised laser sights cutting through the haze. Daniel rolled instinct, overriding the pain in his ribs, pulling Claire behind the overturned couch. Sophia screamed. Mrs. Chen was on the floor, not moving. Nobody move. The lead operator's voice was mechanically distorted. Claire Donovan, you're coming with us. Like hell she is, Daniel growled, calculating angles. 6 operators, full tactical gear, automatic weapons. The math was impossible. But then another voice, familiar and amused, "Stand down, Danny. Nobody needs to die today." Richard Donovan stepped through the ruined doorway, immaculate in a suit that probably cost more than the apartment. He looked at his ex-wife with satisfaction, at his daughter with dismissal, at Daniel with mild interest. "So you're the famous Daniel Reed, the ghost of Blackwater. I have to say, I expected someone more impressive." "Dad?" Sophia's voice was small, disbelieving. "What are you doing? Business, sweetheart, adult business. You wouldn't understand." "You're terrorizing Mom. I'm recovering what's mine. What she stole in the divorce." He turned to Claire. "The Nexus files. I know you have them. Evidence of their dealings, their congressional bribes, their black market operations." "I don't know what you're talking about," Claire said, but Daniel heard the lie in it. "Of course you do. You've been gathering evidence for months, planning to expose them, destroy them. Noble, really. Stupid, but noble." One of the operators spoke. "Sir, we need to move. Local law enforcement will respond to the explosion." "In this neighborhood," Richard laughed. "We have at least 20 minutes. He looked at Daniel. "Here's what's going to happen. Claire comes with us. We have a conversation about those files. Then, depending on her cooperation, maybe she goes home. Maybe she doesn't." "Dad, you can't—" "Sophia, be quiet. You're emotional. You don't understand." "I understand you're a monster." Tears were streaming down her face. "Mom was right about you." Richard's face darkened. "Watch your tongue, young lady. Or what? You'll kidnap me too." The slap was sudden, vicious. Sophia fell back, blood on her lip. Claire lunged forward, but the operator's weapons tracked her laser dots clustering on her chest. That's when Daniel heard it, footsteps on the stairs. Light quick. A child's pace. Lily. "No," he breathed. Richard heard it too, smiled. "Ah, yes. The daughter. Little Lily, isn't it? Perhaps she should join our conversation. Children have such a clarifying effect on their parents' decisions." "You touch her." Daniel's voice had gone beyond cold, beyond threat, into something primal. "And I will end you." "With what? You're outnumbered, outgunned, and out of options." The footsteps were closer now. Daniel could hear Lily humming the song Sarah used to sing about butterflies and dreams. "Please." Daniel said the word, scraping his throat. "She's 9 years old. She has nothing to do with this." Neither did Sophia, but that didn't stop you from involving her. The door, what was left of it, pushed open. Lily stood there, backpack sliding from her shoulders, eyes wide at the destruction, the armed men, the blood on Sophia's face. "Daddy—" "It's okay, Butterfly," Daniel said, not moving, not wanting to trigger the operators. "These people were just leaving." "I don't think so," Richard said. He nodded to one of the operators. "Bring the child." The operator moved toward Lily. Daniel's world narrowed to a single point of absolute clarity. He'd made thousands of tactical decisions in his career, calculated odds in firefights and ambushes, but none of them mattered now. There was only one equation that mattered: Lily's safety against everything else. He moved. Not toward the operator approaching Lily, but toward Richard. The unexpected vector bought him half a second, enough to get his hand around Richard's throat, using him as a human shield. "New deal," Daniel said, his voice carrying the weight of every life he'd taken, every line he'd crossed. "Everyone leaves, now, or I snap his neck." The operators hesitated, weapons wavering between Claire and Daniel's position. "He's bluffing," Richard gasped. Daniel applied pressure just enough to demonstrate expertise. "I've killed 37 people in service to this country. You wouldn't even make the top 10 most difficult." "Daddy?" Lily's voice was terrified. "Close your eyes, Butterfly, and cover your ears." "You're traumatizing your own child," Richard wheezed. "I'm protecting her, something you clearly never learned." The lead operator made a decision. "Sir, we need you alive. Stand down. Don't you dare. With respect, sir, you're not the one paying us. Nexus is, and they need you breathing." The operator lowered his weapon slightly. "Mr. Reed, we're going to withdraw. You'll release Mr. Donovan once we're clear." "Lily comes to me first." The operator nodded. Come here, little one. Go to your father. Lily ran to Daniel, and he shifted to keep Richard between them and the operators while pulling his daughter behind him. Claire, Daniel said, take Sophia and Mrs. Chen. Get to the car. Mrs. Chen isn't moving, Claire said quietly. Daniel risked a glance. The elderly woman was still on the floor, but he could see her chest rising and falling, unconscious, not dead. Carry her. Sophia, help your mother. They moved awkwardly, Claire and Sophia supporting Mrs. Chen between them. The operators let them pass, maintaining their weapons discipline but not interfering. This isn't over, Richard said. Yes, Daniel said quietly. It is, because if you come near any of them again, Claire, Sophia, Lily, anyone, I won't hesitate. I won't negotiate. I'll just remove you from the equation. You're threatening me in front of witnesses. I'm promising you. And my promises, unlike yours, apparently mean something. He waited until Claire and the others were clear, heard the Toyota's engine start. Claire must have grabbed his keys, then he released Richard, shoving him toward his operators. Get out! Richard straightened his tie, trying to recover dignity. You've made a powerful enemy today. I've made a lot of those. You're not even top 10. After they left, Daniel grabbed the go bag, Lily's school backpack, and the photo of Sarah from the nightstand. Everything else was just things replaceable. Lily clung to his hand as they went down the stairs. Daddy, why were those men here? Bad people sometimes do bad things, Butterfly. But we're safe now. Are we going home? Daniel looked back at the apartment building, at the home they'd made and its shabby walls. No, Butterfly. We're going somewhere new. Is Claire coming? Yeah, she is. Good, Lily said firmly. I like her, even if she brings scary people with her. Outside, Claire had managed to get Mrs. Chen into the back seat, the elderly woman starting to stir. Sophia sat with her, holding a tissue to her split lip. I can drive, Daniel said, but Claire shook her head. You navigate. I need to do something with my hands or I'm going to fall apart. He gave her the address Tommy had provided. As they drove, Mrs. Chen woke fully confused but remarkably calm for someone who'd just been knocked unconscious by a breaching charge. Did I miss something exciting? She asked. Just a little trouble, Daniel said. In my day, trouble knocked first. She patted Lily's hand. Are you all right, dear one? Daddy protected us, Lily said simply. Of course he did. That's what good fathers do. They drove through Chicago's afternoon traffic, 4 adults and 2 children who'd been strangers 48 hours ago, now bound together by violence and necessity. Daniel watched the mirrors tracking for surveillance, but the immediate threat had passed. The files Richard mentioned, he said quietly to Claire. You have them. Yes. How bad us? Bad enough to bring down Nexus several congressmen and probably a few generals. And you were going to, what, just expose them? I was going to try. She glanced at him. It's the right thing to do. The right thing gets people killed. So does the wrong thing. At least with the right thing, the deaths mean something. Daniel thought about Blackwater, about operations that had gone wrong, about collateral damage that kept him awake at night. Sometimes they don't mean anything either way. Then why protect us? Why risk Lily? He looked back at his daughter, who was showing Sophia something on her phone. The 2 girls finding comfort in small distractions. Because she needs to grow up in a world where people stand up to bullies, even when the math is impossible. The math. 6 operators, full tactical gear, automatic weapons. The probability of successful resistance was maybe 5%. But you did it anyway. I did it because Lily was watching, because what she learns about courage and protecting people matters more than probability. Claire was quiet for a moment. You're not what I expected, Daniel Reed. What did you expect? Yeah. Someone harder, colder, more like Richard. I used to be. Then I became a father. The safe house was a modest 2-story in Oak Park, unremarkable, except for the subtle security measures, reinforced doors, bulletproof glass cameras hidden in architectural details. Tommy was waiting on the porch, rifle casually cradled. Danny boy, and guests. His eyes tracked over the group, lingering on the children. Inside quick. The interior was sparse but functional, military neat, stocked with supplies, weapons locked in a cabinet that Daniel recognized as explosive resistant. "How long do you need it?" Tommy asked. "Few days. Until I figure out next moves." "Next moves," Claire interrupted. "We can't hide forever. I have a company to run. Sophia has school." "You have $30 million on your head and an ex-husband with Nexus connections," Daniel reminded her. "Normal is off the table." "Then what do you suggest?" Daniel looked at Tommy, decision crystallizing. "We go on offense." Tommy smiled. "Now you're talking my language." "I'm not talking about violence," Daniel clarified. "Claire has files that could destroy Nexus. We use them." "That's not offense, that's suicide," Tommy said. "You expose Nexus, they don't just come after you, they erase you, your families, your histories, everything. Unless we do it right. Unless we make it so public, so undeniable that killing us becomes pointless." Claire was already pulling out her laptop. "I have contacts at the Tribune, the Sun-Times, even the Washington Post. If we coordinate releases." "It's not enough," Daniel said. "Media can be suppressed, stories can be buried. We need something bigger." "Like what?" Daniel turned to Tommy. "You said the team was working. What kind of work?" "The kind that pays well and doesn't generate paperwork." "For who?" Tommy hesitated. "Various interests, some corporate, some governmental, some undefined. Any of them have problems with Nexus." "Danny, what are you thinking?" "I'm thinking that in our world, the enemy of my enemy is useful, and Nexus has made a lot of enemies." Tommy considered this. "There might be some people who'd be interested in seeing Nexus fall. People with resources, connections." "Make the calls." "This is going to cost you, Danny, not money involvement. You come back to the team for this." Daniel looked at Lily, who was curled up on the couch next to Sophia, both girls exhausted from adrenaline crash. Then at Claire, who was watching him with something that might have been hope. "Temporary basis only," he said finally. "This operation only." "That's what they all say." Tommy pulled out his phone. "I'll make some calls. You all should rest. You look like hell." As Tommy stepped outside, Claire approached Daniel. "Thank you. For Sophia. For everything." "It's what you're paying me for." "No," she said softly. "It's not. What you did back there threatening Richard, that wasn't about money. It was about Lily. It was about all of us. You made us your responsibility." She touched his arm lightly. "I know what that costs someone like you, the weight of it." Before Daniel could respond, Lily appeared at his side, wrapping her arms around his waist. "Are we safe now, Daddy?" He knelt down to her level. "We're working on it, Butterfly." "Is this because of your old job, the one that made you sad?" Daniel glanced at Claire, then back to his daughter. "Sometimes old jobs follow us even when we try to leave them behind." "But you'll fix it." "I'll try." Lily studied him with those serious eyes that saw too much. "You'll do more than try. You'll fix it because that's what you do. You fix things and protect people." She went back to the couch, settling next to Sophia again. The teenager put an arm around her, protective instinct crossing the age gap. "Your daughter's remarkable," Claire said. "She's had to be." "Daniel, when this is over. Let's focus on getting through it first." But Claire pressed on. "When this is over, I want you to stay. Not just as security, as something more." "Claire, I know it's complicated. I know we barely know each other, but in the last 2 days you've shown me more loyalty and protection than Richard did in 20 years of marriage. You're scared. Adrenaline makes people feel things clearly," Claire finished. "It strips away pretense and shows us what matters. And what matters is that my daughter finally feels safe because you're here. I finally feel safe." Daniel didn't know how to respond to that, so he didn't. He went to the window, watching the street falling back on the familiar comfort of standing watch. Behind him, Claire returned to her laptop, working on exposing the corruption that threatened them all. Mrs. Chen was in the kitchen, somehow making tea from the meager supplies. The girls were quiet on the couch, exhausted innocents finding comfort in proximity. And outside, Tommy was setting things in motion that couldn't be stopped once started. The war Daniel had walked away from had found him anyway, But this time he wasn't fighting for abstract concepts like patriotism or duty. He was fighting for the people in this room, for the possibility of a future that didn't require looking over shoulders and checking shadows. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He almost ignored it, then recognized the international prefix. He stepped into the hallway to answer. Phoenix. Daniel's blood chilled. Only one person called him that, his former handler, a man who officially didn't exist. Hello, Bishop, Daniel said carefully. Heard you've gotten yourself into some trouble, Phoenix. Nexus Corporation is not an enemy you want. I didn't choose this fight. No, but you're in it now, and from what I hear, you're protecting something precious. If you threaten my daughter... Relax, Phoenix. I'm not calling to threaten. I'm calling to help. Nexus has been a problem for certain interests for some time. Their removal would be, convenient. What are you offering to resources, intelligence, a clean extraction when it's over? And what do you want in return? One job, 6 weeks from now. Off the books your specialty. Daniel closed his eyes. He'd known this was coming, the price for salvation. What kind of job? The kind that saves lives by ending one. The kind you're uniquely qualified for. I don't do that anymore. You don't do it yet. But you will, to keep that little girl safe. To keep all of them safe. The mathematics of desperation again. Everything had a price, and the price for Lily's safety was becoming someone she wouldn't recognize. I need to think about it. Think fast, Phoenix. Nexus is mobilizing. Your window is closing. The line went dead. Daniel stood in the hallway, feeling the weight of converging forces. Tommy and his team. Bishop and his shadowy interests. Nexus and their $30 million motivation. All of it crushing down on a modest house in Oak Park, where 2 children were trying to find safety in a world that had suddenly turned predatory. He returned to the main room to find Tommy back inside, expression grim but satisfied. It's done. Meeting tomorrow, neutral ground. Players who want Nexus gone. But Danny, these aren't good people we're getting into bed with. Are we good people? Daniel asked. Tommy considered this. We try to be, sometimes. When we can afford it, then that's enough. As night fell over the safe house, Daniel stood watch while the others tried to rest. Lily had fallen asleep on the couch, her head in Sophia's lap. The teenager was still awake, staring at nothing, processing the betrayal of a father she'd thought she knew. Claire worked steadily on her laptop, assembling the evidence that would either save them or destroy them. Mrs. Chen had claimed a bedroom, announcing that at her age, she'd sleep through whatever came next. And Daniel stood at the window watching darkness gather, feeling the past and present colliding in ways that would reshape all their futures. Tomorrow, they would meet with devils to fight demons. Tomorrow, the war would truly begin. But tonight, he would stand watch over this makeshift family that circumstances had created. He would be the wall between them and the dark, between innocence and violence, between the life they deserved and the one that hunted them. The ghost of Blackwater was awake now, fully resurrected. But this time he fought for something worth the cost. This time he fought for home. The warehouse on Chicago's South Side had been abandoned for a decade, its broken windows like dead eyes watching the dawn. Daniel arrived first, an hour before the scheduled meeting, moving through the shadows to check sightlines, escape routes, potential ambush points. Old habits that had kept him alive in places where trust was currency and betrayal was inflation. Tommy arrived 30 minutes later, not bothering with stealth. You always were paranoid, Danny. Paranoid people live longer. They also live alone. Tommy checked his rifle casual as someone reviewing a grocery list. The players will start arriving soon. You sure about this? No, but I'm out of better options. There are always options. You could run. Take Lily, disappear. You did it once before. Daniel thought about the safe house where Claire was working through her 3rd pot of coffee, where Sophia was teaching Lily card games, where Mrs. Chen was somehow making breakfast from tactical rations. I have more to protect now. That's what makes you vulnerable. That's what makes me dangerous. The first vehicle arrived at exactly 9 a.m., a black SUV with government plates that shouldn't exist. The man who stepped out was familiar in the way nightmares were familiar. Colonel Marcus Webb, retired officially, very much active unofficially. Reed? Webb said, his voice like gravel over broken glass. Heard you went soft. Became a carpenter or something. Construction, Daniel corrected. Same thing. Building instead of destroying. Webb lit a cigarette, the flame briefly illuminating scars that mapped a career in violence. Bishop says you need help with Nexus. Bishop says a lot of things. He also delivers, which is why I'm here. Webb exhaled smoke. Nexus cost me 3 men in Syria. Good men. I owe them pain. More vehicles arrived, a Mercedes carrying a woman in a suit that screamed corporate assassin, a modified pickup with 2 men who moved like special forces. A sit-in so anonymous, it had to be CIA. They gathered in the warehouse's main floor, a council of shadows and necessary evils. Daniel counted 8 people total, each representing interests that would deny this meeting ever happened. Tommy stood beside him, rifle now prominently displayed. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Fuck Nexus Corporation Club. Membership is free, but the price is commitment. The woman in the suit spoke first. I represent certain Silicon Valley interests. Nexus undercut us on a defense AI contract using stolen technology. We want them exposed and dismantled. I want them dead, Webb said flatly. Every board member, every executive who signed off on Syria. That's not what we're here for, Daniel interjected. We're here to coordinate exposure, media, law enforcement, congressional testimony, legal channels. Webb laughed. Legal? That's adorable. You really have gone soft. I've gone smart. Killing them makes martyrs and mysteries. Exposing them makes them examples. The anonymous sedan's driver finally spoke, a woman with eyes that had seen too much. CIA has no official position on Nexus Corporation. But unofficially, Tommy prompted, unofficially certain intelligence elements would benefit from Nexus's contracts being redistributed, provided it's done cleanly. Daniel pulled out Claire's tablet displaying the files she'd assembled. Financial records showing congressional bribes, shipping manifests for weapons sold to embargoed nations, emails planning the elimination of competitors through violence. The corporate woman leaned forward. This is comprehensive. How did Donovan get all this? Her ex-husband was Nexus's inside man for the hostile takeover. He had access. She had skills. Skills? Her late sister was NSA, taught Claire some tricks before she died. Webb stubbed out his cigarette. So we have evidence. What's the play? Daniel had thought about this all night, standing watch while others slept. Simultaneous release. Every major media outlet, every law enforcement agency, every congressional oversight committee, all at once, too big to suppress. Nexus won't go quietly, the CIA woman observed. They have assets contractors. They'll come at everyone involved. Which is why we need to coordinate protection. Safe houses, security details, contingency plans. That costs money, Webb said. The corporate woman smiled. Money isn't a problem. Nexus's stock will crater once this releases. Certain parties are already positioned to profit from that collapse. Insider trading, Tommy asked. Investment strategy, she corrected. Perfectly legal when the information becomes public. Daniel's phone buzzed. Claire texting, problem at safe house. Come back now. I need to go, Daniel said. We're not done here, Webb protested. Tommy will coordinate. I have an emergency. He left them arguing details, driving fast through morning traffic. Every red light felt eternal, every slow driver a potential obstacle. The text had been brief, but Claire never exaggerated threats. The safe house looked normal from outside, but Daniel parked a block away anyway, approaching on foot. Through the window, he could see Claire at her laptop, but her posture was wrong, too rigid, performative. He circled to the back, picking the lock on the rear door with skills that never faded. Inside, he could hear voices from the living room. Mommy, why is that man pointing a gun at us? Lily's voice, scared but trying to be brave. Daniel's world went red at the edges. He moved through the kitchen, silent as death, until he could see the scene. A single gunman professional stance weapon trained on the couch where Lily sat with Sophia. Claire was at her laptop being forced to do something. Mrs. Chen was nowhere visible. The gunman was focused forward, classic mistake, assuming the threat would come from where he was looking. Daniel crossed the room in 3 steps, his arm around the man's throat before he could react. The gun dropped and Daniel applied pressure until the man went limp. "Daddy!" Lily ran to him, burying her face in his chest. "It's okay, Butterfly. Are you hurt?" "No, but Mrs. Chen, he hit her. She's in the bedroom." Daniel passed Lily to Sophia. "Watch her." Then to Claire. "What did he want?" "The files. He wanted me to delete everything, all the backups." Claire's hands were shaking. "Daniel, he knew about the meeting. He knew you'd be gone." Which meant they had a leak. Daniel zip-tied the unconscious gunman, then checked on Mrs. Chen. She had a bruise forming on her cheek, but was awake, more angry than hurt. "In my day, thugs had manners," she muttered. "This one just walked in, no courtesy at all." Daniel's phone rang. Tommy. "We have a problem," Tommy said without preamble. "Webb's dead, shot leaving the warehouse. Professional hit. 10 minutes ago. Danny, they knew about the meeting. They're cleaning house." Daniel looked at the unconscious gunman on his floor. "They're not the only ones. Pack everything. We're moving. Now." "Where?" Daniel thought fast. Every safe house would be compromised, every ally potentially turned. There was only one place Nexus wouldn't expect, one sanctuary they couldn't have predicted. "The church," he said. "St. Mary's on the west side." "A church? Danny, have you lost your mind?" "Sarah's buried there. Father Miguel knows me. It's the last place anyone would look. It's also the last place that's defensible. Sometimes the best defense is being where they don't expect." He ended the call and turned to Claire. "Can you drive?" "Yes." "Take everyone to St. Mary's Catholic Church on Western. Ask for Father Miguel, tell him Daniel Reed needs sanctuary." "What about you?" Daniel looked at the gunman, starting to stir. "I need to have a conversation." "Daniel, go, now, protect the girls." Claire hesitated, then nodded. She gathered everyone quickly, efficiently. Lily didn't want to leave him clinging until he knelt down. "Butterfly, I need you to be brave. Go with Claire and help take care of Mrs. Chen. Can you do that? Will you come find us?" "Always. I'll always find you." After they left, Daniel dragged the gunman to a chair, securing him properly. The man came to, slowly, professionally, no dramatic gasping, just eyes opening and immediately assessing. "You're Reed," the man said. Not a question. "I am. You're Nexus. Independent contractor. They pay well." "Not well enough for what's coming." Daniel pulled up a chair, sitting close enough to be intimidating but not threatening. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell me how Nexus knew about the meeting. Then you're going to tell me their next moves. Or what? You'll torture me, kill me." The man seemed amused. "I've been through SEER training, buddy. You don't scare me." "I don't need to scare you." Daniel pulled out his phone, showing a photo of the man's driver's license, which he'd taken while the gunman was unconscious. Michael Torrens, age 34, lives in Naperville, married to Jennifer, dental hygienist. 2 kids, Michael Jr., age 8, and Ashley, age 6. The man's amusement vanished. "I'm not threatening them," Daniel continued. "I don't hurt innocents, but Nexus does. And when they find out you've been compromised, that I have your information, what do you think they'll do? Loose ends get cut in their world." Torrens was quiet for a long moment. "You're offering protection. I'm offering you a chance to walk away breathing and with your family intact, but only if you talk. Now." They have someone inside your group. Not the meeting, someone close to Donovan. "Who?" "I don't know. My job was just to scare them. Make Donovan delete the files, but there's more coming. Nexus has a cleaner en route from DC, real specialist. Someone who makes problems disappear permanently. Name, they call him the Surgeon. Never leaves marks, always looks accidental. He'll be here tonight." Daniel processed this. A professional cleaner meant Nexus was escalating beyond corporate warfare into something final. "How many others are hunting us?" 4 teams that I know of, maybe more. The bounty went up 50 million now. 50 million for Donovan, dead or alive. Daniel stood. "You're going to disappear. Take your family on vacation, today. Don't come back for a month. They'll know I talked. They'll know you survived when you shouldn't have. That's enough to mark you anyway. Run or die, your choice. He cut Torrens loose, keeping the gun. The man rubbed his wrists, studying Daniel. You were really Blackwater, among other things. They say you killed an entire unit in Afghanistan. Friendly fire. They say a lot of things. Daniel moved to the door. 30 minutes, then I call Nexus and tell them where to find you. Use the time wisely. St. Mary's Catholic Church stood like a stone prayer in a neighborhood that had forgotten God. The building was old solid, a relic from when the area had been Irish Catholic instead of gentrified hipster. Daniel parked 3 blocks away, approaching carefully, but the streets were empty except for morning joggers and coffee seekers. Father Miguel was waiting at the side entrance, an old man whose eyes had seen suffering and chosen compassion anyway. Daniel, it's been too long. Father, thank you for this. Your friends are in the basement. The young one, Lily, she asked if her mother was here. Daniel's chest tightened. Sarah's been gone 3 years. I know, but the child seemed to think she might be visiting. The priest studied him. She understands death, but not its permanence. She still believes in miracles. Don't we all? The church basement had been converted into a community shelter years ago. Cots, blankets, a small kitchen. Claire was at a folding table, laptop open, working. Sophia sat with Lily, teaching her a card game. Mrs. Chen had claimed a cot and was lying down ice pack on her bruised face. Daddy! Lily ran to him. This place is nice. Father Miguel showed me the windows with colored glass. He says they tell stories. They do, Butterfly. Claire looked up from her laptop. We're secure. For now. Daniel pulled her aside, speaking quietly. We have a leak. Someone close to you is feeding Nexus information. That's impossible. The only people who knew about the safe house were... She stopped, realization dawning. James, my assistant. You sure? He's the only one I told about hiring you. He knew about the safe house because I had him arrange supplies. Her face hardened. That little bastard. I gave him everything, job mentorship opportunity. Nexus probably gave him more. We need to move fast. The files, are you ready to release them? Almost. Another hour to coordinate with media contacts. Daniel checked his watch. The surgeon would arrive tonight. 4 teams were hunting them. And somewhere James was feeding their every move to the enemy. His phone rang. Tommy. Danny, we have a bigger problem. The other players from the meeting, 2 more are dead. The corporate woman, one of the special forces guys, professional hits all within the last hour. They're eliminating everyone who could expose them. Which means we're next. I'm coming to you. No, stay mobile. Keep moving. Daniel thought fast. Tommy, I need the team. Everyone you trust. Combat ready. You said no violence. That was before they started killing children's guardians. How many can you get? Maybe 6, 7 guys, all solid. Bring them to the church tonight, full tactical. You're making a stand in a church. I'm making a statement. They want to play, we'll play. But on ground, I choose. After ending the call, Daniel found Father Miguel in the sanctuary kneeling before the altar. Father, I need to ask something terrible. The priest rose slowly, joints protesting age. You're going to bring violence to this holy place. Men are coming to kill innocents, children. I need to stop them. Violence begets violence, Daniel. You know this. Sometimes violence prevents greater violence. Sometimes the sword protects the innocent. Father Miguel was quiet for a long moment, then walked to a statue of Saint Michael, the archangel with his sword raised against evil. The church has always struggled with this balance, protection versus peace, justice versus mercy. I'm not asking for permission, Father. I'm asking for forgiveness. After. You assume there will be an after. There will be. For Lily, there has to be. The priest touched the statue's base. Saint Michael, defender of the innocent. Perhaps God works through flawed instruments. I'm definitely flawed. But you're here, protecting those who cannot protect themselves. Father Miguel turned to him. The church has hidden refugees before. During the Second World War, during the Civil Rights Movement. Perhaps this is just another form of sanctuary. Thank you, Father. Don't thank me yet. If you bring violence here, you bring it on all of us. The homeless who shelter here, the families who worship here. I'll minimize the collateral. You can't minimize death, Daniel. You can only choose where it falls. That afternoon, Daniel worked to fortify their position. The church had good bone stone walls, limited entrances, high windows. He positioned furniture to create defensive positions, established sight lines, prepared fallback routes. Lily watched him work, her expression too serious for 9 years old. Are bad people coming again? Maybe Butterfly, but I'll stop them. Like you always do. He knelt beside her. Lily, if something happens, nothing will happen. You won't let it. Her faith was absolute terrifying in its certainty. Claire approached, having heard the exchange. She's right to trust you. Trust doesn't stop bullets. No, but it stops fear. And fear is what Nexus wants. They want us terrified, making mistakes. She held up her laptop. I'm ready. One click and everything goes public. Wait until tonight, when they come. You're sure they'll come? $50 million, sure. They can't let you survive with those files. As evening fell, Tommy arrived with his team, 6 men who moved like Daniel moved with economy and purpose. They wore no uniforms, carried no identification, existed in the margins between legal and necessary. Danny. Tommy made introductions with nicknames only. Brick Cowboy, Doc Whisper Gadget, and Bulldog. Daniel recognized the types, if not the faces. Men who'd been shaped by violence into instruments of precision. Men who'd lost everything normal people valued and found brotherhood in the loss. Rules of engagement. Brick asked a mountain of a man with hands that could probably crush stone. Protect the innocents. Everything else is negotiable. In a church, Cowboy had a southern drawl that made everything sound polite. Mama would whip me. Better whooped than dead, Doc observed, checking his medical kit. Daniel positioned them throughout the church, overwatch positions, kill boxes overlapping fields of fire. The sanctuary became a battlefield waiting to happen. Father Miguel watched from the altar, rosary in hand, praying in Latin. Mrs. Chen had refused to be moved to safer quarters, declaring that at her age excitement was better than boredom. Sophia stayed with Lily, the 2 girls now inseparable in their shared fear. Night came slowly, then all at once. Daniel was at the main entrance when he saw them, 3 vehicles approaching without headlights, gliding through darkness like sharks through deep water. He keyed his radio. Contact. 3 vehicles, probably 4 or 5 per vehicle. They're not trying to hide. Confident, Tommy observed from his position in the choir loft. Or stupid. Both can be fatal. The vehicles stopped 50 yards from the church. Figures emerged, spreading out with professional precision. Daniel counted 15, maybe more. They'd brought an army for what they thought would be an execution. His phone rang. Unknown number. Mr. Reed. The voice was cultured, pleasant. I'm the man they call the surgeon. I believe you are expecting me. I am. This doesn't have to be messy. Send out Miss Donovan and the laptop. Everyone else walks away. Counteroffer. You leave now, and I don't demonstrate why I was very good at making people disappear in places nobody talked about. The surgeon laughed. Ah, yes, the ghost of Blackwater. Tell me, Mr. Reed, how many men did you really kill in Afghanistan? 12. They were selling weapons to the Taliban, weapons that killed Americans. Command wanted it handled quietly. And you handled it. I did what was necessary. As will I. You have 5 minutes to reconsider. The line went dead. Daniel looked back at Claire, who was listening from the doorway. Send it, he said. All of it. Now. She opened her laptop, fingers flying across keys. Sending to 47 media outlets, 16 law enforcement agencies, 12 congressional offices. She hit enter. Done. Then we hold. The first wave came exactly 5 minutes later. Smoke grenades through the windows meant to disorient. But Tommy and his team had dealt with worse, in places where the smoke was white phosphorus and the stakes were national security. Movement north entrance, Whisper reported, his voice barely audible even through comms. 3 more west side, Gadget added. Hold fire, Daniel commanded. Let them commit. The attackers flowed in like water, finding cracks professional but predictable. They expected scattered civilians, not organized resistance. The first one through the north door took a tranquilizer dart from Doc Non-Lethal as promised to Father Miguel. But the second one met Brick's fist, which was arguably worse than a bullet. "Contact rear cut," Bulldog announced, his rifle barking twice. The church erupted. Not chaos, orchestrated violence, contained and precise. Tommy's team moved like a machine, each part supporting the others. Daniel stayed central, coordinating until he saw movement toward the basement stairs, toward the girls. He moved, intercepting two attackers who'd flanked the main fight. The first one saw him coming, raising his weapon, but Daniel was already inside his guard. Palm strike to the throat, knee to the solar plexus, elbow to the temple. The man dropped. The second attacker was faster, better. They traded strikes, a brutal dance in the church aisle. The attacker pulled a knife, slashing in patterns that spoke of training. Daniel caught the wrist, redirecting the blade into the attacker's own thigh, then dropped him with a chokehold. "Daddy!" Lily's voice from the basement. Terror, pure and sharp. Daniel ran, taking the stairs 3 at a time. In the basement, the surgeon stood behind Lily, gun to her head, using her as a shield. Claire and Sophia were backed against the wall. Mrs. Chen was on the floor, blood on her temple. "Ah, Mr. Reed," the surgeon said pleasantly. "Now, we can discuss terms properly. Let her go. The files have been sent, I assume unfortunate, but not irreversible. Nexus has resources. Media can be influenced, stories can be buried, but we need Ms. Donovan to recant publicly. Say it was all fabricated." "That won't happen," Claire said. "It will, or this child dies. Then the older one. Then the old woman. I'll leave you for last, Ms. Donovan, so you can appreciate the cost of your principles." Daniel calculated angles, distance, probabilities. All bad. The surgeon was a professional, using Lily's small body perfectly as cover. "Daddy?" Lily said, her voice small but steady. "Remember what Mommy said." Sarah's words from her hospital bed, holding their daughter's hand. "Sometimes, baby, we have to trust that falling is just flying in a different direction." Lily went completely limp, dropping like dead weight. The surgeon, surprised, adjusted his aim downward for a split second. Daniel moved. The knife left his hand before conscious thought, a 10-foot throw that Sarah would have called impossible. It took the surgeon in the shoulder, spinning him back. His gun fired the bullet, sparking off concrete inches from Lily's head. Daniel crossed the distance in 2 strides, driving the surgeon into the wall. They grappled, but the knife wound had weakened the assassin's right side. Daniel pressed the advantage, brutal and efficient, until the surgeon dropped unconscious or close to it. "Lily!" He scooped her up, checking for injuries. "Are you hurt?" "No, Daddy. I remembered Mommy's story about trust falling." She was crying now, the brave facade cracking. "Was that right?" "That was perfect, Butterfly. Perfect." Footsteps on the stairs. Tommy appeared, rifle ready. "Clear upstairs. They're pulling back." "How many down, shit?" 6 captured, 3 wounded, rest retreated. Our side, minor injuries only. Doc's patching people up. Daniel looked at the surgeon, unconscious and bleeding. "Call 911. Multiple casualties, terrorist attack on a church. Let the media sort it out. The cops will have questions, and Claire has answers. Nexus Corporation just attacked a church to silence a whistleblower. That's the story that'll run beside their leaked files." An hour later, the church looked like a crime scene, from a movie police tape, ambulances, news vans already gathering. Daniel watched from the shadows as Claire gave her statement to detectives as the captured attackers were led away, as the surgeon was loaded into an ambulance under police guard. Father Miguel found him in the sanctuary, looking at the damaged windows, the blood on sacred ground. "I'm sorry," Daniel said. Are you sorry it was necessary?" Daniel considered. "Both. That's honest, at least." The priest looked at the statue of St. Michael. "Evil came here tonight. It was met with resistance. Perhaps not the resistance I would choose, but effective nonetheless. Father, I need one more favor. Besides sheltering fugitives and allowing violence in God's house, I need you to marry us." Father Miguel blinked. "I'm sorry." Daniel pulled out a ring, simple silver, purchased from a pawn shop that afternoon with the last of his cash. "Claire Donovan, I need you to marry us. Tonight." Daniel, marriage is a sacrament, not a tactical decision. It's both. If we're married, she can't be compelled to testify against me, and I can't be compelled against her, but also, he looked through the doorway to where Claire was holding Lily, both of them wrapped in shock blankets, surrounded by chaos, but focused only on each other. Also, when you find someone willing to stand in hell with you, you don't let them go. She's agreed to this. I haven't asked yet. Father Miguel almost smiled. You're proposing marriage after a gunfight in a damaged church with police everywhere. Can you think of a more honest moment? No pretense, no illusions, just truth and choice. The priest sighed. I'll need witnesses. Tommy and Mrs. Chen. It's highly irregular. Father, nothing about tonight has been regular. Daniel found Claire outside giving her last statement to the police. When she finished, he pulled her aside. We need to talk. About what happens next, I've been thinking with the files, Public Nexus will have to focus on damage control. They can't afford to keep hunting us. Not about that. He pulled out the ring. About this. Claire stared at it, then at him. Daniel Reed, are you proposing? I'm suggesting a merger for practical and personal reasons. Romantic, very romantic, but she was almost smiling. This is insane. Everything about the last 3 days has been insane. But you sat on my floor painting planets with my daughter. You trusted me when trust could have killed you. And when they came for us, you didn't run. Neither did you. I'm trained not to. You're not. That makes you braver. Claire looked at the ring, simple and honest against the chaos around them. What about Lily? She already asked if you were going to be her new mom. Apparently, she and Sophia discussed it and decided it would be acceptable. The children negotiated our relationship. They're practical, like us. Claire took the ring, studying it. 3 days, Daniel. We've known each other 3 days. Sarah and I dated for 2 years before marriage. We thought we knew everything about each other. We were wrong. Knowledge isn't time, it's truth under pressure. And I've seen your truth. You've seen me terrified. I've seen you brave. There's a difference. She slipped on the ring. It fit perfectly, which felt like a sign. Father Miguel, waiting inside, Tommy and Mrs. Chen as witnesses. Lily, wouldn't miss it. They were married at midnight in a church with broken windows and blood on the floors, with sirens as wedding music and police lights as atmosphere. Lily stood as flower girl scattering dandelions she'd picked from the church garden. Sophia was maid of honor, still in shock, but smiling. Mrs. Chen cried, telling everyone who'd listen that she'd known it would happen from the start. Tommy was best man, his rifle leaning against the altar. Do you, Daniel, take this woman to protect and serve in corporate warfare and domestic tranquility till death do you part? Wrong words. Father Miguel corrected, but he was smiling. Right sentiment, Tommy replied. The actual vows were simple, traditional. But when Father Miguel asked about rings, Claire stopped him. I have something. She pulled off her father's signet ring worn on a chain around her neck. It's not much, but it's perfect, Daniel said, letting her slide it onto his finger. Too big, but that could be fixed. Everything could be fixed with time and intention. I now pronounce you husband and wife, Father Miguel said. May God have mercy on you both. Daniel kissed his new wife while their assembled, battered family applauded. It should have felt rushed, desperate, a decision made under duress. Instead, it felt like coming home after a long, violent journey. So, Claire said against his lips, what now? Now we disappear for a while. Let the lawyers and media sort out Nexus. I know a place cabin in Wisconsin completely off the grid. We can stay there until things calm down. All of us. Daniel looked at their strange family. Lily already calling Sophia her sister Mrs. Chen, insisting she wasn't too old for adventures, Tommy promising to visit with supplies and gossip. All of us, he confirmed. As they left the church, Claire's phone buzzed with notifications. Every major news outlet was running the Nexus story. Stock futures were crashing. Congressional hearings were being called. The $50 million bounty had become worthless. Killing them now would only confirm the truth of the exposed files. They'd won. Somehow, impossibly, they'd won. In the car driving toward an uncertain but hopeful future, Lily fell asleep between her new parents. Sophia dozed in the back, finally safe enough to rest. Mrs. Chen snored softly, claiming the entire third row. "This is crazy," Claire said softly. "This entire thing. It's completely crazy." "Crazy's relative," Daniel replied, watching the road, always watching. "Compared to my time in Afghanistan, this is downright rational. I'm serious. We just got married, in a church, after a gunfight, with a 9-year-old as flower girl and a sniper as best man. When you put it like that, it sounds almost romantic." Claire laughed, exhausted but real. "You have a strange definition of romance, Mr. Reed." "Mrs. Reed," he corrected. "And you haven't seen anything yet. Wait until I show you my idea of a honeymoon teaching you counter-surveillance techniques and small arms proficiency. Actually, that sounds useful. And that's why this works." She reached over, taking his free hand. The ring on her finger caught the streetlight, simple silver, making promises that diamonds couldn't guarantee. "Daniel. Yeah. Thank you for saving us, all of us. You saved us too. Those files, that courage. We saved each other. Is that what we're going to do now? Save each other?" He squeezed her hand, thinking about the cabin in Wisconsin, about Lily having a real family, about Sophia learning to trust again, about Mrs. Chen having people to fuss over, about second chances that came disguised as catastrophes. "Yeah," he said. "That's exactly what we're going to do." Behind them, Chicago faded into darkness. Ahead, the road stretched towards something that might, with luck and determination, become peace. But even as Daniel drove toward their new life, part of him stayed vigilant. Because men like him didn't really get happy endings. They got reprieves. And somewhere in boardrooms and black sites, other enemies were taking notice of the ghost of Blackwater who'd come back to life. For tonight, though, he had a car full of family, a ring on his finger, and the knowledge that sometimes, just sometimes, the good guys won, even if they had to become bad guys to do it. The road stretched on, and Daniel Reed drove toward tomorrow, carrying everyone he'd sworn to protect. The soldier had become a guardian. The guardian had become a husband. And maybe if they were very lucky, he could just become a man with a family worth fighting for, a man with something finally worth the weight of his sins, a man who'd found in the strangest possible way his way home. The cabin in Wisconsin sat on 40 acres of pine forest, invisible from the main road, accessible only by a dirt track that Daniel had swept for surveillance devices twice before allowing the family to enter. 6 weeks had passed since the church, since the marriage, since Nexus Corporation's spectacular collapse into federal investigations and frozen assets. 6 weeks of something that almost resembled peace. Daniel stood on the porch, coffee steaming in the morning cold, watching Lily and Sophia chase each other through the snow. Their laughter echoed off the trees, pure and unguarded in a way that still made his chest tight with protective instinct. Claire emerged behind him, wrapping her arms around his waist, her chin resting on his shoulder. "You're thinking too loud," she said. "Habit. It's been 6 weeks. No threats, no contact. Even Tommy says the heat's died down." "Heat never dies down. It just shifts focus." But Claire turned him to face her, studying his face with those CEO eyes that missed nothing. "You're waiting for something." "I'm always waiting for something." "No, this is different. You've been checking your phone more. You've been teaching me and Sophia combat basics with more urgency. What aren't you telling me?" Before he could answer, his phone buzzed. The number he'd been dreading, the bill coming due. "Phoenix." Claire's expression hardened. She'd learned enough in 6 weeks to know that code name meant nothing good. "It's time." Bishop's voice was neutral, professional. "The job we discussed. I'm retired." "You're on sabbatical. There's a difference. Check your secure email. Details are there. 48 hours to position. Complete the objective and your debt is cleared. Refuse and certain information about your activities in Afghanistan becomes public. Your new family might find it illuminating." The line went dead. Daniel stood still, feeling the life they'd built creaking under the weight of his past. "Who was that?" Claire asked, though her expression suggested she already knew. "A reminder that some things can't be outrun." "The job you mentioned, the one you took to protect us." "Yeah." "You're going to do it." Daniel looked through the window to where Mrs. Chen was teaching the girls card games, her weathered hands patient with their fumbling. I don't have a choice. There's always a choice. Not when the alternative is losing all this. He pulled her closer. I need you to take everyone and go to the second safe house, the one in Michigan I told you about. You promised we were done running. We are. I'm not. Not yet. Claire pulled back her jaw, set in that stubborn line he'd come to love and fear in equal measure. Then I'm coming with you. Claire, no. You don't get to make unilateral decisions about our safety anymore. We're married, partners. That means we face things together. This isn't corporate warfare. This is wet work, black ops, assassination. She used the words deliberately, watching him flinch. I've been reading Daniel, learning about your world, and I know you can't do this alone, not anymore. You have too much to lose now, and that makes you vulnerable. It makes me dangerous. To yourself most of all. She took his face in her hands. Let me help. I can be your logistics, your backup, something. And the girls, Tommy's coming tomorrow, right? For the supply run. He and Mrs. Chen can watch them for 3 days. Daniel wanted to refuse every protective instinct screaming against involving Claire in this part of his life. But she was right. He was different now, weighted with connections that could make him hesitate at crucial moments. If you come, you follow my lead, absolutely. No questions, no hesitation. Agreed. And we tell the girls we're going on a brief business trip. They don't need to know that Daddy's going to kill someone. Lily's voice from the doorway, small and knowing. Daniel's blood froze. His daughter stood there in her snowsuit cheeks, red from cold eyes, too understanding for 9 years old. Butterfly. I heard the phone. I know that voice makes you scared. She walked to him, taking his hand with complete trust. Are you going to hurt bad people? Daniel knelt to her level, searching for words that wouldn't be lies but wouldn't destroy her innocence. Sometimes to protect good people, someone has to stop bad people. And you're the someone. This time, yes. Lily considered this with that serious expression that reminded him so much of Sarah. Will you come back? Always. Promise. I promise. She hugged him tight, then pulled back. Claire's going too. I might be, Claire said carefully. Good. Daddy needs someone to watch him. He thinks he's alone, but he's not. Lily looked between them. Sophia and I will take care of Mrs. Chen. We're responsible now. The simple declaration broke something in Daniel. This was what he'd been trying to protect, not just their physical safety, but their ability to be children. And here was his daughter, 9 years old already, learning to carry weight she shouldn't have to bear. That night, after the girls were asleep, Daniel opened the secure email. The target was a man named Victor Kozlov, arms dealer operating out of Detroit, selling weapons-grade plutonium to the highest bidder. The kind of sale that could put nuclear capability in the hands of terrorists or rogue states. Jesus, Claire breathed, reading over his shoulder. This is real as it gets. And the government can't handle this officially because Kozlov has diplomatic immunity. He's technically a cultural attaché at the Russian consulate. Touching him officially means international incident. So they send you. They send someone who doesn't exist to remove someone who shouldn't exist. Claire studied the intelligence package photos, schedules, security details. Her business mind was already working, seeing patterns. He has a weakness. Everyone does. No, look. Every Thursday he goes to the same restaurant, the Silver Moon, high-end exclusive. He takes his mistress. Security sweep shows 8 bodyguards minimum. But here, Claire pulled up the restaurant's blueprint on her laptop, skills she'd developed investigating Nexus proving useful. Private dining room on the 2nd floor. Only one entrance, but there's a service elevator that connects to the kitchen. Daniel looked at his wife, his brilliant, terrifying wife, who was adapting to his world with disturbing efficiency. You're not coming into the building. I'm your overwatch. You taught me that term. Someone watching the watchers. This isn't a training exercise. No, it's a marriage. For better or worse, remember. Tommy arrived the next morning, taking one look at Daniel's packed gear and sighing. Back in the game. One last job. It's never just one. Tommy looked at Claire. And you're going with him. Someone needs to make sure he comes home. That someone should be me or the team. The team doesn't have as much invested in his survival, Claire said simply. Tommy considered this, then laughed. You know what? You're right. Danny, your wife, has bigger balls than half my unit. Thanks, I think, Claire said. They left that afternoon after lengthy instructions to Mrs. Chen about the girls' routines after promises to Sophia that they'd be back soon after one last hug from Lily that lasted just a little too long. The drive to Detroit took 6 hours, Daniel teaching Claire fieldcraft as they went, how to spot surveillance, how to establish safe communication, how to disappear in plain sight. You're a natural at this, he said, as she successfully identified the third tail car he'd arranged for Tommy to put on them as practice. I spent 20 years in corporate America. Paranoia and strategy are prerequisites. They checked into separate hotels under different names, meeting at a third location, a coffee shop with good sight lines and multiple exits. Claire had transformed herself with surprising skill, her CEO polish replaced with middle American tourist blandness. Kozlov's at the consulate now, she reported, having spent the afternoon conducting surveillance from a building across the street. Security is tight but predictable. Shift changes at 6 and midnight. And tomorrow night. Reservation at the Silver Moon, 8 p.m. Table for 2 in the private dining room, just like every Thursday. Daniel studied the photos she'd taken, the angles she'd calculated. His wife had become something he'd never expected an operational asset. I need you to understand something, he said. Once this starts, there's no stopping. No hesitation. If things go wrong, I follow the extraction protocol you taught me. Rally point alpha, then beta if compromised. She recited it perfectly. Daniel, I understand the stakes. Do you understand what it means? What I'm about to do. This isn't self-defense or protecting innocence. This is premeditated murder. Claire was quiet for a moment. No, it's preventing mass murder. That plutonium Kozlov's selling could kill thousands. You're not the villain here. I'm not the hero either. No, you're something more complicated. You're necessary. That night, Daniel sat in his hotel room assembling the weapon he'd acquired from one of Tommy's contacts, untraceable, reliable, quiet. His hands moved automatically, muscle memory from 100 similar nights in places that didn't officially exist. His phone buzzed. A text from Lily. Daddy, I love you. Sophia says love is protection. Be protected. He stared at the message, feeling the weight of every choice that had brought him here. Then another text from Claire. In position, eyes on target arriving, 8 bodyguards, 2 advance, 6 close. You were right about the pattern. Daniel moved, becoming the ghost he'd once been. The service entrance Claire had identified was minimally guarded. One man bored, scrolling his phone. Daniel approached from behind, chokehold applied with precision. The guard went down unconscious, zip-tied and gagged in seconds. The service elevator was ancient, creaking as it rose. Daniel counted floors, visualizing the blueprint Claire had shown him. Second floor, turn left, third door. The private dining room where Kozlov held court, believing himself untouchable. The hallway was empty. Claire's doing. She'd called in a fire alarm to the kitchen, drawing staff away. 30 seconds, maybe 45, before they realized it was false. Daniel opened the door silently. Kozlov sat facing away, gesturing with a wine glass, telling his mistress about deals that would reshape global terror. 2 bodyguards flanked him, but they were watching the main entrance, not the service door. The first guard turned as Daniel entered, hand moving to his weapon. Daniel's knife took him in the throat, silent and final. The second guard managed to clear his holster before Daniel's elbow crushed his windpipe. Kozlov turned, wine-spilling eyes widening in recognition of death approaching. Wait. Victor Kozlov, Daniel said quietly. You've been judged. I have money. You have plutonium, and buyers who would use it to burn the world. The mistress screamed. Daniel ignored her, focused on Kozlov, who was reaching for something under the table, a panic button, a weapon. It didn't matter. The shot was quiet, suppressed to a whisper. Kozlov fell back, a neat hole in his forehead, surprise frozen on his face. The plutonium deal would die with him. The network scattered, the threat neutralized. The mistress was still screaming. Daniel zip-tied her to the chair. She'd be found questioned, released. Collateral witness, not collateral damage. Moving, he said into his calm. Guards responding to the fire alarm are returning. Claire's voice steady despite what she'd just heard. Main stairs compromised. Take the west fire escape. Daniel moved down metal stairs slick with Detroit winter into an alley that smelled of garbage and broken dreams. A car waited Claire behind the wheel, engine running. Drive normal, he said, sliding into the passenger seat. She pulled out smoothly, just another couple leaving dinner, but her hands were trembling slightly on the wheel. You okay? He asked. I just listened to you kill someone. Yeah. It was quieter than I expected. Usually is. They drove in silence until they reached the highway Detroit falling away behind them. Finally, Claire spoke. Do you feel anything? Daniel considered lying, then chose truth. Relief. That it's over. That it was clean. That I'm driving away with you instead of in a body bag. Not guilt. Kozlov was going to enable mass murder for profit. Whatever guilt I might feel is outweighed by the lives saved. Is that how you rationalize it? That's how I survive it. Claire took one hand off the wheel, finding his in the darkness. I'm glad you survived it. Even knowing what I am, especially knowing, because what you are is a man who does terrible things for necessary reasons, and then comes home to make pancakes for his daughter. They switched cars twice following the extraction protocol Daniel had designed. By dawn, they were crossing into Wisconsin, the sunrise painting the snow-covered fields gold. It's beautiful, Claire said. Yeah. We're going home. Yeah. To our daughters. The word hung between them, daughters plural. Sophia had become his as surely as Lily had become Claire's. Daniel. This was the last time, right? The debt to Bishop, it's paid. It's paid. Then we're free. Daniel thought about the bodies he'd left in Detroit, about the plutonium that wouldn't reach terrorist hands, about the price of safety in a dangerous world. As free as people like us get. The cabin appeared through the trees, smoke rising from the chimney. Before Daniel could park, the door burst open. Lily and Sophia ran out, followed by Mrs. Chen, moving at a more dignified pace. Daddy Claire! Lily launched herself at them, trusting completely that they'd catch her. They did. We made breakfast, Sophia announced. Well, Mrs. Chen made breakfast. We helped. Sort of. Burned the first batch of pancakes, Mrs. Chen added, but the second batch is acceptable. They went inside where the table was set for 6, where normalcy waited like a gift. Daniel watched his family eat breakfast. Claire helping Lily with syrup, Sophia telling stories about the card game she'd won, Mrs. Chen fussing over everyone's plates. This was what he'd killed for. This moment, this morning, this impossible family built from violence and circumstance and choice. His phone buzzed. A message from Bishop, debt paid, you're clear, stay retired, Phoenix. Next time won't be so clean. Daniel deleted the message, then removed the SIM card, crushing it under his heel. That life was done. Had to be done. Everything okay? Claire asked, noticing. Everything's perfect. And for a moment it was. They were altogether safe, the threats neutralized or distant. The cabin was warm, the coffee was strong, and Lily was laughing at something Sophia had said. But Daniel knew better than to trust perfect moments. They were gaps between storms, not destinations. Somewhere other threats were gathering. Other enemies were taking notice. The ghost of Blackwater had been seen in Detroit, and ghosts were supposed to stay buried. A car engine in the distance growing closer. Daniel tensed, hand moving to the weapon he always carried now. But it was just Tommy's truck arriving for the supply run he'd delayed to watch the girls. Relax, Danny, Tommy said, entering with boxes of groceries. Though that paranoia is probably why you're still breathing. Any chatter? Daniel asked quietly. About Detroit. Some whispers, but Kozlov had enough enemies that nobody's looking too hard at who pulled the trigger. Tommy paused. You know this won't last, right? This peace, I know. But you're going to pretend. Daniel looked at his family, his impossible, beautiful family. I'm going to try. Tommy clasped his shoulder. That's all any of us can do, brother. That afternoon, Daniel taught Lily and Sophia basic self-defense in the barn, Claire watching and occasionally correcting their form with disturbing accuracy. Mrs. Chen knitted in the corner occasionally, offering commentary about fights from her youth that suggested a more interesting history than anyone had suspected. Why do we need to know this? Sophia asked after successfully executing an escape from a wrist grab. Because the world has teeth, Daniel answered, and sometimes knowing how to bite back is the difference between victim and survivor. That's dark, Sophia observed. That's honest. I like honest, Lily announced, practicing her stance, even when it's scary. That evening, they sat around the fireplace, a family portrait no one would believe. The former CEO and the ghost soldier, the teenager learning to trust again, and the 9-year-old who'd seen too much, the elderly neighbor who'd become a grandmother by proximity and persistence. Tell us a story, Lily requested, curling against Daniel's side. What kind of story, but a true one, about before? Daniel tensed, but Claire touched his hand. Tell them about the time you saved the ambassador in Prague. You know about Prague? Tommy talks when he drinks. So Daniel told them a sanitized version of Prague, the protection detail that went wrong, the embassy under siege, the extraction through sewers that no one thought possible. He made it sound like an adventure, not the nightmare it had been. Were you scared? Sophia asked. Terrified. But you did it anyway. Fear and action aren't mutually exclusive. The bravest people are often the most scared. They just don't let fear make their choices. Is that why you married Claire after 3 days? Lily asked innocently. Because you were scared, but brave. Claire laughed, surprising everyone, including herself. Your father proposed in a church surrounded by police with blood on the floor and sirens as our wedding march. I think we passed scared and went straight to insane. But good insane, Mrs. Chen added. The best families are built on a foundation of shared insanity. As the night deepened and the fire burned low, Daniel held his family close and tried to believe in endings. Tried to believe that a man could walk away from shadows and into light. Tried to believe that the past could stay buried if you just piled enough love on top of it. His phone sat silent on the mantel, no more coded messages or debts to pay. Tomorrow, Lily had a science project due, solar systems and painted planets. Sophia wanted to learn to drive on the back roads. Claire had corporate contracts to review legitimate ones now. Mrs. Chen had announced she was teaching everyone to make proper dumplings. Normal things, possible things. Things worth protecting. Outside, snow began to fall, covering their tracks, hiding them from the world that hunted men like Daniel Reed. Inside, his daughter laughed at something Claire whispered, and for a moment, just a moment, the ghost of Blackwater believed in resurrection. Not the dramatic kind with angels and trumpets, the quiet kind where a man got to stop being a weapon and start being a father, where a CEO could stop fighting corporate wars and start building something real, where children could grow up protected but not imprisoned by fear. Daniel pulled Claire closer, felt Lily's weight against his side. Watched Sophia and Mrs. Chen debate card strategies. This was his congregation now, his mission, his reason for every terrible thing he'd done and might yet have to do. The fire crackled, sending sparks up the chimney like prayers or promises. Outside, the Wisconsin winter wrapped around them like armor made of cold and distance. They were hidden. They were together. They were family. For now, and now was all any soldier really had. It was enough. Daniel Reed closed his eyes, not to sleep, but to memorize this moment. The weight of his daughter's trust, the warmth of his wife's hand, the sound of his chosen family breathing in safety he'd bought with blood. Tomorrow would bring its own challenges. Other ghosts would rise. Other debts would come due. The world would keep turning violent and beautiful in equal measure. But tonight in a cabin hidden in Wisconsin woods, a ghost found peace. A soldier found home. A father found purpose beyond the battlefield. And sometimes, not often, but sometimes that was how the story ended. Not with explosions or victories, but with the quiet sound of a child's laughter and the steady breathing of people who'd chosen to build something from the rubble of their various wars. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. Those were for people who hadn't seen what Daniel had seen, done what he'd done. But it was real, and it was his, and he would defend it with everything he had left. The ghost of Blackwater was gone. In his place sat Daniel Reed, husband, father, protector. A man who'd learned that sometimes the greatest victory wasn't in the battles you won, but in the ones you no longer had to fight.